The rich stepmother fell in love with me. The master is in trouble. My new husband died at our wedding. In the corner of a castle worth hundreds of millions, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, dressed in a wedding gown, huddled by the corner on the phone, her expression panicked, her heart racing with fear. It was right after the wedding, and the groom had passed away. Was she a widow before even being married? Was she cursed to bring misfortune to her husband? Dead? How did the old chairman die? On the other end of the phone, the so-called master sounded tense, accompanied by the clattering sounds of him packing his things, seemingly ready to flee at any moment. Chí Miǎo Miǎo said, the private doctor said it was a shock to his system, he was too excited and literally laughed himself to death. Wait. Chí Jiusha, fate is predetermined. Don't forget, you have a great opportunity ahead of you. The master zipped up his suitcase and added, I feel the summons from the ancestral spirit. I must go to the mountains for deep cultivation. If you need anything, contact me telepathically. The phone was hung up, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo called back multiple times, but no one answered. As she belatedly realized the situation, the wedding of the century had turned into a funeral. The guests' gazes on her were now filled with unspoken meanings. The staff were busy sending the guests off, and the groom's body had someone to guard it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, the bride who had only made it halfway through the ceremony, stood awkwardly in a corner, waiting for further arrangements. At 21, Chí Miǎo Miǎo was in the prime of her youth, blooming like a flower, while the groom was an elderly man, 89 years old. The reason they had walked into marriage wasn't because of greed or love for his billions. Of course, it wasn't because of true love either. To understand why, we need to go back to the day Chí Miǎo Miǎo met the master. When she was 16, her parents passed away in an accident, and with no relatives around, she was left to deal with everything at the funeral home alone. She was grieving and scared, feeling like life was a never-ending darkness. That's when the master appeared. He helped her with paperwork, arranged her parents' burial, and comforted her with gentle words, quickly becoming the light in her life. The master claimed to be a Taoist, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo followed his teachings. She was just an amateur in Taoism, but she trusted the master's every word, spending her parents' compensation on various spiritual tools. A month ago, the master suddenly contacted her, telling her that she would face a life and death tribulation this year. Terrified, she asked if there was a way to avoid it, and the master took her to meet her soon-to-be groom, who was much older. The master said she had a strong fate that required a person of great fortune to suppress it, so that she could avoid disaster and enjoy good fortune. He also assured her that as long as she made it through this year, the tribulation would be over, and she could divorce later. Scared but half persuaded, Chí Miǎo Miǎo agreed to marry. It was only today at the wedding that she realized her groom was the chairman of the Pei Group, a conglomerate with businesses all over the world, controlling the world's economic lifeline. The adjectives may sound exaggerated, but the wealth was real. The wedding castle alone was worth over 100 million, uniquely designed, and there was only one in the world. The key point was that the castle had already been transferred to her name, and the chairman had claimed it was a wedding gift for her. Now, Chí Miǎo Miǎo was feeling incredibly conflicted. After standing in the hall like a flower vase for 2 hours, a butler finally came to escort her to the resting room. The young masters are on their way back. Someone is waiting outside for you, and you can call on them if you need anything. After a brief and distant exchange, the butler left to continue making arrangements for the chairman's funeral, coordinating with the media. Everyone was busy, except for Chí Miǎo Miǎo, who was left alone, feeling lost. Thankfully, she still had her phone. She quickly searched for Pei Group and was shocked to find out that the chairman had 3 half-brothers. Each of them was successful in their own career and incredibly handsome. The eldest, Pei Yi, was the CEO of Pei Group, often appearing in economic magazines. With a well-tailored suit, broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and long legs, he was the epitome of an aloof, stoic billionaire. The second son, Pei Yu, was in charge of overseas projects and flew frequently between domestic and international locations. He wore gold-rimmed glasses in photos and had a gentle, jade-like face. The youngest son, Pei Che, was still in college and a rising star in the entertainment industry. His online photos were endless, and every one of them showed him to be incredibly handsome. Chí Miǎo Miǎo drooled as she looked at the pictures. She was hungry. The room only had wedding candies and fruits, which weren't enough to fill her stomach. She thought about going out to find something to eat. But as soon as she opened the door, a female server stopped her with a smile, firmly ushering her back into the room. Chí Miǎo Miǎo realized with a start that she was being confined. She waited from noon until dark. The door to the resting room finally opened, and standing in the doorway was the eldest son of the Pei family, Pei Yi. He coldly sized her up as she lay asleep on the couch, his eyes filled with disdain. Before coming here, he had already seen her file, a university graduate with no job, and a partner in crime with a scam artist. As for the late chairman, Pei Yi wasn't he the least bit upset. The old man was a notorious womanizer, and dying outside of a woman's bed was probably the most dignified way for him to go. The wedding had been very timely, everyone had witnessed his death, which saved him the trouble of notifying relatives about the tragic news. When Chí Miǎo Miǎo was woken up, she was confused. Seeing the server standing at the door, her eyes lit up. "I can leave now." "Not yet. The eldest young master has something to ask you." The server stepped aside, revealing Pei Yi sitting on a single armchair, his hands clasped in front of him. He looked at her with a cold gaze and said, "Where is the old scam artist you were working with?" "Scam artist?" Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at him in confusion. Was she being treated as a suspect? "Let me explain, we got married through an introduction, and we didn't meet often. I had nothing to do with the groom's death." Pei Yi met her anxious gaze with a sarcastic smile. "You think you can clear yourself of suspicion just because you're wearing a wedding gown?" Chí Miǎo Miǎo lowered her gaze and noticed she was still in the wedding dress. The incident had happened so suddenly that no one had taken her to change. "Fine. Even if the old man's death had nothing to do with you, what about the property transferred to your name? And the 50 million your accomplice took? Does that have nothing to do with you?" 50 million. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was completely stunned. She knew about the property, which was promised as a wedding gift, but she was supposed to return it later during a divorce. She also owned a few small properties herself, nothing too impressive, just a small landlord. The property had been bought with the master's guidance. She had purchased dilapidated buildings at low prices a few years ago, and now they were in prime locations, proof that she trusted the master completely. "The master took money? Did you misunderstand? The master only sells spiritual tools, he doesn't accept money." She suddenly remembered something and quickly tried calling the master. The line was busy, then a message appeared saying the number was no longer in service. Chí Miǎo Miǎo wanted to cry. She was not a scam artist, but the man opposite her said nothing, only continuing to stare at her with an icy gaze. Capitalists were known for their ruthless methods. She wouldn't be sent to join the dead, would she? Then it hit her. This must be the life and death tribulation the master had mentioned. She was in a huge crisis this year because the wedding had gone wrong. Her tribulation wasn't resolved, and now, what should she do? Chapter 2, The Stepmother. Pei Yi watched her futile efforts with an indifferent expression. When he confirmed that no substantial information could be extracted, he waved his hand, signaling the female attendant to call the police. "Call the police." Chí Miǎo Miǎo was stunned and forgot to wipe her tears. She watched in disbelief as the door to the lounge closed, and then it reopened to reveal a police officer with a hat. She was taken away for routine investigation. 2 hours later. While handling the old man's affairs, Pei Yi received the news that Chí Miǎo Miǎo was also a victim. After the police officer's inquiry, it was revealed that Chí Miǎo Miǎo had been deceived for 5 years and firmly believed the fraudster was a true master. And also, "Speak." Pei Yi snapped. He closed the company files, leaned back in his office chair, and sighed with exhaustion. Just after the old man's passing, someone was already getting restless. "Zhou, people around you have confessed, Mr. Pei. They say you were after Miss Kai's beauty and teamed up with that fake master to scam her. The 50 million was hush money and a kickback. So, Miss Kai is the biggest victim here." Pei Yi silently opened his eyes, paused for a moment, and then said, "Go get my stepmother and bring her to Pei residence." Zhou was surprised but quickly left the office. It was impossible to guess the boss's thoughts. No matter how much you tried, you couldn't figure it out. The next morning, a confused Chí Miǎo Miǎo arrived at Pei residence. She had just woken up and found Zhou waiting at her doorstep. The man told her that, since she had already married the old chairman, she was now part of the Pei family and should live in Pei residence. The butler greeted her and led her to the dining room. At the dining table, 3 handsome men of different looks were eating. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, who was ignored, decided to take the initiative. She walked over to Pei Yi, the only one she had spoken to, and said, "I'm not going to live in your house. You and my father had a wedding. Not valid unless we have a marriage certificate. The entire A city witnessed your wedding. Miss Kai, you are part of the Pei family. But he is already dead. What do you want me to do here?" Chí Miǎo Miǎo's voice was lacking confidence. She was still young and didn't he want to become a widow. Pei gracefully set down his coffee, glanced at his indifferent brothers, and smiled coldly, "Naturally, to be our stepmother. Are you all crazy? Who would rush to become a mother-in-law?" Pei couldn't be bothered to continue the conversation. He waved his hand and signaled the butler to take her upstairs. "Wang Bo, show Miss Kai to her room." Wang Bo moved forward, half persuading and half forcing her upstairs. Once they left, Pei Yu and Pei Che simultaneously put down their utensils, waiting for Pei Yi to explain. Pei Che, who was impatient, asked first, "Why leave a troublemaker in the house?" "Pei Yi, Pei residence is too lonely. We need a woman to run the household." Pei Yu adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, his voice gentle. "Has the Zhou family made a move?" "Pei Yi, they are not a threat. Just troublesome." "So, you kept her here to stir things up?" Pei Yu glanced upstairs, his lips curling slightly. He admired Pei Yi for this, the cold, unfeeling face, but the scheming mind. Upon hearing Zhou family, Pei Che fell silent. He no longer cared about the extra woman in the house and instead asked how the Zhou family was planning to act. The Zhou family was the family of the old man's first wife. After their marriage, they didn't have children, and it wasn't until the first wife passed away that the old man brought them into the Pei family, making them the rumored illegitimate children. Illegitimate children were still children. They could fight amongst themselves, but anyone from the outside trying to get involved would have their hands cut off. Meanwhile, upstairs, Chí Miǎo Miǎo had quieted down and was listening to Wang Bo's explanation. "Wang Bo, you married the chairman to block the calamity. Now that he has gone, think about it, what else can save you? Of course, staying in Pei residence." "Chí Miǎo Miǎo, how so?" "Wang Bo, their master said you married the chairman and moved into Pei residence. Now that the wedding is done, the only thing left is to live here. That makes sense." Chí Miǎo Miǎo slapped her thigh, finally understanding. That was the logic. She had married and moved into Pei residence. Now that both things were done, why not stay? It was a free mansion, no rent, and no reason not to stay. Wang Bo smiled, thinking that the eldest young master's task had been completed. Chí Miǎo Miǎo officially settled into Pei residence. She had hoped to have a meal with her 3 new stepsons and introduce herself, hoping they could all coexist peacefully under one roof. However, for the next 2 days, she didn't see a single person. Wang Bo was also busy, dealing with the old chairman's funeral. That afternoon, the unemployed Chí Miǎo Miǎo was eating fruit and watching a drama. The aunt at Pei residence was quite good at cooking. Not only did the meals taste great, but the fruit plates were beautifully arranged, which improved her appetite. "Madam, there are guests at the house." Chí Miǎo Miǎo swallowed her fruit, looked at Wang Bo, who had suddenly appeared, and asked, "Who is it?" "The Zhou family, their first wife's brother and his wife, as well as their son." Chí Miǎo Miǎo's brain froze. It took a moment for her to understand who the first wife was. What happened then? Wang Bo smiled. "The eldest young master said you are the lady of the house, so you should greet them." Chí Miǎo Miǎo straightened up, no longer lounging lazily. Pei Yi wanted her to entertain guests. What was the trick behind this? She didn't believe for a second that there was no ulterior motive. "Wang Bo, I'm not an outsider anymore. Before I entertain, tell me what these guests are here for." Wang Bo's eyes flickered briefly as he said, "The Zhou family claims the first wife was the true wife of the old chairman and wants to take half of the Pei family's assets." "How much?" "Half." Chí Miǎo Miǎo paused her drama and thought about it. The assets were something she could fight for. Although the Pei family's money wasn't hers to spend, she was living in their house, and they were shielding her from disaster. Helping to deal with some pests could count as paying rent. Half an hour later, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, dressed in a formal outfit, appeared in the reception room with Wang Bo. On the sofa, the 3 members of the Zhou family were arrogantly ordering the maid to change tea and snacks. Their son, about 18 or 19 years old, sat sloppily on the sofa playing a game, acting as if he was at home, without a trace of guest decorum. When Wang Bo saw Chí Miǎo Miǎo stop, he whispered, the old chairman was very kind to the Zhou family in his lifetime. Chí Miǎo Miǎo nodded in understanding, cleared her throat, and raised her voice. Oh, you've started eating? Wang Bo, you really should ve told me the guests hadn't had lunch. We should ve had a gathering in the dining room. She made a grand entrance, successfully drawing the attention of the Zhou family, who all frowned at the sight of her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was wearing a brown cotton and linen long dress, her black hair styled in a bun held by an ordinary wooden hairpin. She wore red agate bracelets on her wrists and had several amulets around her neck. In one hand, she held a compass and in the other, a string of beads, giving off the distinct impression of a street vendor selling trinkets. Zhou Heyu frowned and barked, Wang Bo, who is she? How dare she speak to us like that? Does she even know who I am, insulting me like this and acting like we can't afford to eat? Chapter 3, The Lady of the House. Uncle Huang said, Mr. Zhou, this is the new mistress of the house. The new mistress? The mistress of the Pei family is our eldest sister from the Zhou family. Who is this vixen who has appeared out of nowhere, killed Pei Dawn, and dares to move into the Pei residence? Mrs. Zhou sneered sarcastically. Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled instead of getting angry. She directly sat at the main seat and asked, Uncle Huang, am I the lady of the house? Of course, you are, Uncle Huang replied. Auntie, am I the lady of the house? Chí Miǎo Miǎo asked again. Of course, you're the only lady of the house, the auntie answered with a smile, standing beside them. Compared to the Zhou family, who treated her like a servant, she much preferred the sweet-talking and low-maintenance new mistress. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was satisfied. Since our guests don't like tea or snacks, please remove them all. The auntie immediately complied, ignoring the glaring expressions from the Zhou family. She quickly cleared the tea and snacks from the table. Mr. Zhou took a deep breath and said, You're not qualified to receive us. Let Pei come back. I need to speak with him in person. Don't move, keep that posture. Chí Miǎo Miǎo suddenly pointed at Mr. Zhou and said, TSK, I can see from your face that you're in bad shape, Mr. Zhou. How is your bedroom business going? Her words stunned the room into silence. Mr. Zhou's face turned red, whether from embarrassment or guilt, and he stammered, Don't talk nonsense. Well, if I'm talking nonsense, just look at Mrs. Zhou. Her face is glowing like red plums on a wall, certainly not something you could nourish, Chí Miǎo Miǎo continued. The Zhou couple exchanged looks, their expressions unreadable. The young son, who had been lying on the sofa playing games, jumped up and pointed at her, shouting, How dare you say my mom has been unfaithful? I'll beat you to death. After shouting, he lunged at her. Just as Uncle Huang was about to stop him, Chí Miǎo Miǎo delivered a swift flying kick, knocking Zhou Zixin to the ground. Mrs. Zhou screamed, quickly checking to see if her son was hurt. Both mother and son cried out in pain. Chí Miǎo Miǎo clasped her hands to her chest and imitated Mrs. Zhou's tone, saying, So scary, Uncle Huang, protect me quickly. Uncle Huang, stunned at first, then smiled, stepping forward to block her and said, Mr. Zhou, please teach your son some manners. If third young master finds out your son has hurt someone in the Pei residence, he will be very angry. Mr. Zhou's curse got stuck in his throat. Third young master of the Pei family was notorious for his reckless behavior, even daring to hit him in the past. If he found out, he would surely take the opportunity to cause trouble for Zhou Zixin. Well, Mr. Zhou glared at Chí Miǎo Miǎo, gritting his teeth and saying, I won't waste time talking with you. Not a single part of the property that belongs to my sister can be taken away. Tomorrow, I will have my lawyer contact Pei Yi. I was going to give you face, but don't blame me for turning ruthless now. Wait. Chí Miǎo Miǎo interrupted, not liking the sound of that. Since when did the Pei family's property become something the Zhou family can interfere with? Your sister, the original Mrs. Pei, has already divorced my father through notarization. Now, his new wife is me. Where do you get the face to demand any of the property? Even if there is a dispute, it will be between me and Pei Yi. Chí Miǎo Miǎo wiped away an imaginary tear and sniffled. Pei Yi's 3 children are young and have lost their father. Now, bad people are trying to snatch their modest inheritance. We, the orphaned widow, are being bullied by you. How can you do this to us? Wu, my father-in-law isn't even in the ground yet, and you come here provoking us. If he knew, he would definitely come for you in the afterlife. Mr. Zhou's finger shook as he pointed at her, unable to say a complete sentence. You. What about me? Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked down at his finger, her eyes lighting up. She grabbed the flag hanging around her neck, stood up, and declared, I have a soul-summoning banner. I'm the 251st direct descendant of Lingyun Temple. I'll summon my father-in-law's soul right now, and he'll come to you at night. The Zhou family was startled by her sudden action. They helped each other up, ready to leave. Crazy woman. Tell Pei that the lawyer will meet with him tomorrow. Mr. Zhou shouted. Chí Miǎo Miǎo rushed to catch up and yelled, How dare you? If you dare to think about splitting the property, I will summon my father-in-law and bring wild spirits to your house, haunting you every night. You'll suffer from impotence and be caught cheating. Sometimes acting crazy really works. Chí Miǎo Miǎo watched the Zhou family flee in panic, then called for the auntie to bring her some tea and snacks. She needed a drink to calm her throat. Meanwhile, the Pei family's three brothers, watching the live surveillance footage, each had a different expression. Pei turned off his phone and got back to work, while Pei Yu, with a meaningful look, glanced at Chí Miǎo Miǎo a few more times. Only Pei Che, the youngest, clapped his hands and cheered. The Zhou family pests had finally met their match today. Evil people will be punished by other evil people. That soul-summoning banner was quite interesting, har har. Madam, do you also know the Zhou Yi divination? Chí Miǎo Miǎo swallowed the food in her mouth and said, I have some knowledge. Sometimes I get things wrong, but the master said my experience is insufficient and that I need to practice more. Uncle Huang smiled knowingly, understanding that it was a lucky guess. Later that night, at the Pei family's dining room, Chí Miǎo Miǎo thought she was the only one there, but when she saw another person at the table, she felt a bit uncomfortable. Pei closed his phone and signaled the aunt to start the meal. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat across from him, keeping a respectful distance. It felt like a formal dinner, almost like a state banquet. Come sit over here. Pei lightly tapped the table with his fingers, signaling her to sit closer. Chí Miǎo Miǎo quickly refused, saying it was fine where she was. You won't be able to reach the dishes from there. Coming. Dinner was a simple 4 dishes and 1 soup, beautifully presented. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, holding her chopsticks, was ready to eat. Pei Yu raised an eyebrow at the dishes. That's because I asked auntie to make less. Too much would be wasted, and I wouldn't be able to finish it, Chí Miǎo Miǎo said. She remembered when she first ate at the Pei residence, she was shocked by the 18 dishes on the table. Realizing it was just her meal, she quickly had auntie remove some dishes and split the meal into smaller portions. Though she wasn't overly frugal, she disliked wastefulness. Since then, she asked auntie to make less. Usually, there were only 2 dishes, but today, there were 4 dishes and 1 soup, probably because the true head of the house had returned. Pei's eyes flickered as he picked up his chopsticks. Eat. For the first time at the Pei family's dinner table, Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt the warmth of a regular family. She glanced at her little stepmother sitting next to her and began to eat. After finishing 2 bowls, Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt satisfied. She looked at the man, who hadn't eaten much, and waited for him to speak. She didn't believe for a second that Pei had come back just to have dinner with her. He must have something to say. You've worked hard today. He knew the Zhou family wasn't easy to handle and yet pushed the trouble onto her? Truly heartless. It was indeed hard. Chí Miǎo Miǎo followed his lead, saying, I'm getting older. In the future, you should handle matters like this on your own. Pei curved his lips into a smile. You're now the lady of the Pei family. It's most appropriate for you to handle these matters. Hold on. Chapter 4, The Funeral. Chí Miǎo Miǎo crossed her arms and hugged herself, speaking seriously, let's speak plainly. I don't know what your intentions are for keeping me in the Pei family, but you certainly know why I agreed to stay. So let's get to the point. No need for all these roundabout ways of speaking. I can't understand that. Pei raised an eyebrow, surprised by her directness, even more so than he'd expected. Then I'll say it in a way you'll understand. As the hostess of the Pei family, do your job. As for everything else, the Pei family will provide you with the help we can. After the 1-year collaboration ends, your choice to stay or leave is up to you. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, hostess? I don't think I can handle that. Pei, you did well today. Did he just compliment her? Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at him, uncertain, waiting to hear more. The day after tomorrow is old Master Pei's funeral. We'll attend together, Pei continued. After a pause, he added, the media has been informed. Don't worry, no one will make things difficult for you. Trusting the domineering CEO to handle things, she felt reassured. That night, Pei left Pei Manor after speaking with her, and it wasn't until the day of the funeral that she met the three Pei brothers. If the occasion were different, Chí Miǎo Miǎo would have turned into a fangirl, drooling over them. Although old Master Pei was only of average looks, his three sons were all quite handsome, broad shoulders, narrow waists, long legs, each one perfect in their own way. Especially the third son, Pei Che. As a top-tier celebrity, even in the simplest black suit, he radiated charisma without even having to move. Chí Miǎo Miǎo absent-mindedly adjusted her black gown. Seeing a star, she instinctively wanted an autograph. It was said they sold for a high price online. Her heels clicked against the stairs, the sound growing louder as she descended. The three Pei brothers looked up, each wearing a different expression as they gazed at the slowly descending woman. The simple black gown accentuated her figure, her fair skin, bright eyes, and a smile that unexpectedly enhanced her beauty. Pei Che chuckled lightly. Stepmom sure has a great figure. Pei Yu nodded in approval. She's really stunning. Only Pei Yu remained his usual cold self, briefly lost in thought before quickly recovering. Everyone's here, let's go. Outside the funeral home, a stretched limousine pulled up. The driver and bodyguards got out first, separating the onlookers and media. After confirming it was safe, they signaled the occupants inside. Pei Che was the first to step out, followed by Pei Yu and the eldest son, Pei Yi. The appearance of the three brothers sparked considerable discussion. Old Master Pei's sudden passing, with no head of the family left, this is just the beginning of a battle over inheritance, people whispered. Word is, the Zhou family is here too, looking to claim part of the inheritance. They look like they'll be tough to deal with. The ceremony's about to begin, why aren't they entering? What are they waiting for? Look! Who's the woman in the car? As Chí Miǎo Miǎo got out, Pei extended his hand. She raised an eyebrow and, naturally, placed her wrist in his hand, enjoying the moment as if she were a queen. Pei leaned slightly, speaking quietly so no one could hear. Don't forget our deal. Don't worry, I'm very professional, Chí Miǎo Miǎo replied, pulling out the handkerchief she had specifically brought, dabbing at the corners of her eyes. Her eyes immediately reddened, and anyone who saw her would offer a kind word, telling her not to be too sad. Was it mustard? Pei glanced at the handkerchief, which had been soaked in the spicy mustard, his face solemn. He gently helped his little stepmother into the funeral hall. Pei Yu and Pei Che followed closely behind. The entire family, in perfect order, was an impressive sight, handsome men and beautiful women, though their pace was a little slow. Chí Miǎo Miǎo held her handkerchief up to her face, apologizing, sorry, I'm not used to wearing high heels. She had never worn them before. Thankfully, Auntie had delivered the clothes and shoes the day before, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo had spent the night practicing, so her steps were steady today. Pei said, no rush. Though they all appeared serious, the three brothers of the Pei family looked as if they were genuinely grieving for their father. Especially with the woman surrounded by them, her eyes teary, her nose red, putting on a truly heart-wrenching display of sorrow. Isn't he that Mr. Pei's new wife? Pei even acknowledges her status and brought her to the funeral. What's going on? Someone murmured. Another tactic to fight for inheritance. It looks like he's out trying to get close to the stepmother to secure more shares. Seductress. What kind of good woman would marry a man of her grandfather's age? She's obviously after money. Well, now it's over for her. No money, no man. The gossip grew louder, but Pei Che shot them a cold look. The entire room fell silent. Known for being reckless, Pei Che didn't hesitate to take action if someone crossed a line. With his powerful family background, even as a top celebrity, no one dared expose his flaws. Inside the funeral hall, old Master Pei's photo hung prominently. Chí Miǎo Miǎo glanced up, suddenly stiffening. It hit her this was the man who had almost married her, the man who had died at their wedding. The night the police officer had revealed the truth to her, Chí Miǎo Miǎo hadn't felt much. She had believed that the master had his reasons for what he did. Now, standing there with reverence, Chí Miǎo Miǎo bowed deeply. As the new Pei matriarch, living in the Pei family to ward off misfortune, she felt the weight of the family's karma. So, she bowed sincerely. The ceremony proceeded to the end, and just as they were preparing to leave for the burial site, the Zhou family pushed their way in. The three of them rushed to the front and began wailing. My brother-in-law. You died so tragically, all because of this seductress who brought you to an early grave. She's a fraud with evil magic. Brother-in-law, you need to seek justice for me. The moment Pei Yi took over, he cut off the Zhou family's livelihood. Are you going to force us to die? Pei Yi watched the spectacle coldly, while Pei Yu held back the angry Pei Che. Before anyone could speak, the frail little stepmother joined in, crying just as loudly. Huh! Pei Yu adjusted his glasses, confirming what he saw. His little stepmother had not only joined in but was crying even louder. Woo woo woo, old Pei, open your eyes and see. You've barely been buried, and those with wolfish hearts are already eyeing the family wealth. Without the pillar of the family, how can we, orphaned and widowed, survive? Look at old Pei, please. If you know what's good for you, don't go after the wrong people. Go to the Zhou family. Chí Miǎo Miǎo cried and wiped her eyes with the mustard-soaked handkerchief, her tears flowing like a stream. Isn't he this just about out crazying them? Let us all go crazy together. Though she represented the Pei family, no one truly regarded her as part of it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't worry about embarrassing the Pei brothers. She was a nobody. Now, it was the Zhou family who was being pointed at and ridiculed, like street bullies making a scene. Zhou Hiyu, enraged and humiliated, snapped, "Shut up. I've already figured it out. You and that old sorcerer partner up to deceive old Pei, murdering him for wealth. Be careful with your words. I might sue you for defamation." Chí Miǎo Miǎo instantly transformed into the picture of fragility, her innocent face facing the guests, making her look small and easily defended against. Surrounded by the Zhou family, she naturally evoked protective instincts in people. Zhou Hiyu, hands on his hips, couldn't he get his desired result from her crying, so he pointed a finger at Chí Miǎo Miǎo, viciously saying, "You're looking for death. You're not qualified to talk to me." Who says she isn't qualified? Chapter 5, Share the Burden of Spending. Pei Yi stepped forward and walked over to stand behind Chí Miǎo Miǎo, clearly showing his support for her. She is now the lady of the Pei family and the most qualified person to speak here. As for you, Mr. Zhou. Pei Yi's jet black eyes slowly scanned Zhou Hiyu. Out of courtesy, I'll call you uncle, but don't think you're some royal relative just because of that. Zhou Hiyu widened his eyes, his face turning red. The Zhou family only survived thanks to the Pei family's support. In the past, when old Master Pei was still alive, he had it easy, but now that Pei Yi was in charge, this young man would never let him take advantage. He had planned to seize this opportunity, relying on the Pei family's need for face, to get some profit, but didn't he expect a troublemaker like Chí Miǎo Miǎo to throw his plan into disarray? Zhou Hiyu said, "Pei Yi, we're still family. You wouldn't want to see your uncle fall into a desperate situation, would you? TCH, what a big face." Pei Che couldn't stand it anymore, sneering, "You're worthy of being our uncle." When they were first brought into the Pei family, they had been bullied by the Zhou family both openly and secretly. Now that the Zhou family had fallen, and with the old man gone, they should have stayed away, but they still dared to show up in front of him. Mrs. Zhou retorted, "How dare you speak like that to your elders? If it weren't for the Zhou family taking care of you, you brothers would have been bullied by the maids long ago." Mrs. Zhou. Pei Yu's eyes flashed with coldness. He looked at her with a smile, but his words sent chills down her spine. "We'll always remember how the Zhou family took care of us in the past. In the future, we'll also take care of Jixin just like you took care of us. Now, let us proceed with sending father to his final rest, so as not to miss the auspicious time." After Pei Yu finished speaking, he gestured for Uncle Huang to continue the ceremony. The bodyguards pushed back the stunned Zhou family members. Mrs. Zhou's eyes were filled with fear. It was over. They remembered everything, and they were going to take revenge on Jixin. She had to take her son and run far, far away. With the Zhou family's disturbance resolved, the funeral proceeded smoothly. Chí Miǎo Miǎo returned to the Pei residence, hurriedly rushing upstairs. The drama she had been watching was about to air, and today was the climax where the male and female leads clarified their misunderstandings and confessed their feelings. She had to witness it firsthand. "Wait. Miss Kai, please wait." Chí Miǎo Miǎo clicked her tongue in her mind. She pretended not to hear, but they still called her. "Eldest son, really no manners. I'm here." She turned around with a smile, her eyes still glancing upstairs. The new room had a huge projection screen. It was the perfect place to watch dramas. Pei Yi took a seat on the sofa first, waiting for Chí Miǎo Miǎo to reluctantly approach. Then, in front of Pei Yu and Pei Che, he handed her a contract. What's this? Chí Miǎo Miǎo stepped back, distancing herself from the white contract on the table. She had seen this kind of scene in dramas usually, it's full of chasing and tortured love stories, and she refused to participate. Phut, har har har, Pei Che laughed at her reaction, what are you thinking? Since you don't want the money, I won't give it to you. Wait. Chí Miǎo Miǎo quickly pressed down on the contract. She wasn't greedy, she just wanted to share the burden of spending with the wealthy family. She said she wanted it, but she still carefully flipped through the contract. After double-checking, she realized it was actually a deed of gift, a large flat in the city center, plus a transfer of 5 million. TSK. Chí Miǎo Miǎo slammed the contract shut and stood up abruptly. I'm going to prepare a ritual to summon spirits and send them to the Zhou family to keep an eye on them. I'll make sure to torment them so much that they can't sleep day or night. This was way too much. If she didn't do something, she wouldn't feel right taking the money. Pei Che laughed uncontrollably, while Pei Yi's face broke into a slight crack. Pei Yu smiled and reassured her, Miss Kai, no need to get excited. The Zhou family won't need your help. Someone else will handle it. Upon hearing that she wouldn't need to do anything, Chí Miǎo Miǎo regretfully sat down. She held the contract, looking at it again. Although she didn't lack money or property, who wouldn't want more? Pei Yi said, since you've accepted the money, the next step is to make sure you solidify your position as Pei's wife and attend some events when necessary. Chí Miǎo Miǎo had no objections. Pei Yi was practically her son now, and whatever he said went. Pei Yi continued, tomorrow at 10 a.m., there's a shareholders meeting. Please accompany me. And I, Pei Che immediately added, I'm recording a variety show tomorrow. In a few days, I'll need you to be a guest for one episode as part of our family. Chí Miǎo Miǎo glanced at Pei Yu, who hadn't spoken. Was there anything the second son needed from her? Pei Yu smiled gently, I'll be flying back to our overseas company tomorrow, so I don't need your help for now. Chí Miǎo Miǎo nodded. The shareholders meeting and variety show were simple enough to attend, and since she was unemployed, it was a great opportunity to broaden her horizons and enjoy some celebrity life. After the pleasant conversation ended, Chí Miǎo Miǎo climbed upstairs, holding the property and savings she earned through effort. Making money from a wealthy family was too easy, it almost made her want to live there forever. The life of the rich was so good. The next morning, Chí Miǎo Miǎo purposely put on her most appropriate outfit and accessories. She had been waiting in the dining room early, ready to go out and act with her eldest son. Uncle Huang said, the eldest young master has already left this morning. The driver will take you to the company later. Gone already? Chí Miǎo Miǎo's face fell in regret. In dramas, the little stepmother always appeared alongside the domineering CEO, and the scenes were super cool. She had been excited all night, and she even brought out her black sunglasses. Uncle Huang held back as much as he could before speaking, are you planning to attend the shareholders meeting in that outfit? Mr. Pei has arranged a wardrobe full of this season's new clothes. Would you like to change? No need. Chí Miǎo Miǎo decisively refused. She felt this outfit was perfect for her, fitting her Taoist disciple vibe. Uncle Huang's eyelid twitched. He had tried to persuade her, but the new wife wouldn't listen. Hopefully, the eldest young master wouldn't be too surprised. 1 hour later, Pei Corporation CEO's office. Pei Yi rubbed his brow and put on his glasses as he looked at the little stepmother standing before him. Her black hair was tied with a wooden hairpin, and she wore a black Zhongshan suit. The top buttons of her shirt were undone, revealing a white shirt underneath. Around her neck was an unknown piece of religious equipment, and a loose cinnabar bracelet hung from her wrist. In her palm, she seemed to be holding a jade stone. If not for the mismatched age and gender, Pei Yi almost thought a 60-year-old shareholder from the company had arrived. Nice, huh? Uncle Huang kept staring at me this morning, Chí Miǎo Miǎo said, pleased with his gaze, preparing to introduce the origin and purpose of her spiritual equipment. Pei Yi took a deep breath. How had he forgotten the style of this little stepmother? He should have warned Uncle Huang to stop her. It didn't matter as long as she was here. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't wait for an answer. She happily walked over to show him, let me show you my talisman. These were specially blessed by a master for 88 days to pray for my safety. Pei Yi glanced at them. They were the kind of things you could find at any temple stall for 10 yuan a pair. Chapter 6, Recording Variety Show. These magic weapons are Chí Miǎo Miǎo's treasures. She loves to introduce them to others and can't stop talking about them. When Assistant Li came in to remind him to start the meeting, he saw expectation in President Pei's eyes for the first time. Huh? What President Pei hates most is the shareholders' meeting. How could he be looking forward to it this time? How weird. Li Zhou glanced at Chí Miǎo Miǎo, and his professionalism made him hold back his laughter. He was already laughing like crazy in his heart. Ha 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 ha, the new lady's outfit is too unique. Is it Taoist cosplay this time? In the conference room, Pei appeared last. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's appearance was like fried skewers entering a boiling oil pan, making a sizzling sound and crackling sounds. Everyone's eyes turned to me. Yes, that was it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo enjoyed everyone's gaze. Just as she expected, she was able to control the situation as soon as she appeared on stage. It was very good. Pei, who was secretly observing her from the side, nodded with satisfaction. Good, she is not stage frightened. Assistant Li, everyone be quiet, this is Mrs. Pei, we are attending the shareholders' meeting together today. Pei sat in the main seat, with a stool next to him, which was Chí Miǎo Miǎo's seat. She looked around the room while holding her string in one hand, her eyes focused on Director Zhou, who was sitting diagonally in front of her. Unexpectedly, a fellow Taoist was there. Boss Pei, isn't it against the rules to let an unnamed person attend the meeting? That's right. Not to mention that she has no shares, there is no precedent for family members attending the trial in the Pei family. Mr. Pei passed away too suddenly. The incident was already controversial, and you brought the person involved here. Aren't you putting yourself at the center of the storm? Pei calmly noted down everyone who spoke. The old man kicked his legs and died easily, leaving behind a group of parasites in the company, which he had to work hard to clean up. He just brought Chí Miǎo Miǎo here and didn't say or do anything, but these people couldn't sit still and started jumping around, even more impatient than the little stepmother. She was very calm today. She didn't argue with anyone, nor did she jump up and do anything. In fact, Chí Miǎo Miǎo stared at the middle-aged fat Taoist friend in deep thought. The piece of amber hanging around his neck was really nice, and she also wanted one. Pei tapped the table with his fingers and said in a deep voice, "Everyone finished talking? Then let me say a few words. First of all, this person is not an outsider without status. She is my father's newlywed wife and the mistress of the Pei family. As for the shares you mentioned, it reminded me. Ms. Kai just married into the Pei family when she suddenly encountered bad news. In order to show the humanity of the Pei family, I propose that everyone raise funds to collect some shares and give them to Ms. Kai for a fee." Chí Miǎo Miǎo's ears twitched. Paid? She had no money. Pei gave her a calming look. He would pay the money and she just had to be of ours. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was no longer in a hurry, but the directors present could not sit still. Why should they contribute shares? Pei clearly wanted to reduce the board of directors' shares and strengthen himself. Pei waved his hand, signaling to distribute the information that Assistant General Li had prepared in advance. It's not too late to object after you have read it. The documents were distributed one by one, and the directors' faces changed after reading them. Some of them got evidence of private kickbacks and tampering with projects, while some of them got appointment reports that their children were promoted and reused. For a moment, everyone had different expressions. After the meeting, Pei got the shares he wanted as he wished. The next second, he ordered Li Zhou to send a driver to send Chí Miǎo Miǎo away. He didn't want to hear the origin of those magical weapons for even a second. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't want to leave. She hadn't had a chance to talk to her fellow Taoists and hadn't found out where to buy amber. Assistant Li, don't worry, I will send the information to Pei's house later. Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt relieved. Now that the mission was over for the day, she obediently let the driver take her home, feeling a little emotional. The board meetings of large companies are just like that. I thought they used obscure and advanced terms, but today I see that the directors are all very good at verbal battles. Poor Pei has to fight with these old goblins all day long. It is really not easy. After fighting for shares in the company for my eldest son, the next step is to accompany my younger son to record a variety show. It was her first time to appear on TV and she was a little nervous. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't know what to pack, so she simply added all of her 3 sons' friends and created a group called Loving Family. As soon as the group was established, it received 3 question marks. Pei Yi? Pei Yu? Pei Che? The group leader Chí Miǎo Miǎo cleared his throat and replied, "Old third, let me ask you something. What do you bring to the show?" Pei Che, "What the hell is the third brother? Call me by my name next time." Pei Che, "You don't need to bring anything, just get everything ready here, and you can just come over." Chí Miǎo Miǎo, "Okay, third brother, I understand." Pei Che, cursing emoticon pack. The group chat ended here, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo continued to enjoy the happiness of lying down and watching TV series. During this time, her aunt would feed her from time to time. Her life was so comfortable. The night before participating in the variety show, Chí Miǎo Miǎo received a program introduction from Pei Che. The variety show is Here Comes Nature. Just as the name suggests, the director threw several artists into the forest and broadcast the entire process live, under the banner of getting close to nature, allowing the audience to see the embarrassing state of the stars who cannot take care of themselves. Pei Che had been thrown into the forest the day before yesterday and was now experiencing the life of a savage. Tomorrow, the first batch of flying guests would be sent in, under the banner of a secret weapon, and the family members of celebrities who were also unable to take care of themselves would be sent in to be savages. Chí Miǎo Miǎo wanted to be a savage. When her parents were still alive when she was a child, she was not a spoiled person. Later, when her parents died, she lived alone and was brought up by social life. She is definitely able to take care of herself, and she even looks forward to spending 2 days in the big forest. Maybe she can meet some lonely ghosts in the deep mountains and old forests. The thought of it is exciting. No, she has to bring 2 more magic tools. On the day of recording the variety show, Chí Miǎo Miǎo was called up at dawn and was told that the person who was going to pick her up had arrived. Early in the morning, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, half drowsy, bit into the breakfast prepared by her aunt, and got into the car with a small bag on her back. Pei Che's agent had been waiting in the car for a long time and immediately handed over a large bag. Zhou Chiming, the bag contains what Pei Che wants. Just give it to him when you get there. Chí Miǎo Miǎo agreed with her eyes closed, but she didn't forget to eat. She was too sleepy. Last night she caught up with the live broadcasts of the previous 2 days and refreshed the posts to eat gossips about the guests. Fans from all walks of life were talking about it, and the gossip was more exciting than the other. She didn't pay attention and stayed up until the early morning. Zhou Chiming looked worried. Is it really okay for her to participate in the variety show in this state? In the past, the company arranged people for such shows, but this time Pei Che insisted on bringing this person. Once netizens find out this person's identity, there will probably be another internet storm. Zhou Chiming covered his head with his hands in pain when he thought of this. By that time, entries will be flying all over the place, and it will take a lot of effort to suppress the popularity. He was so worried, but the 2 parties seemed fine. The one inside asked to bring food and daily necessities, but the one in front of him ate and slept at the same time, showing no nervousness at all, as if he was working with celebrities on a variety show. Wake up, the live broadcast is about to start. Chí Miǎo Miǎo slept all the way to the airport. Zhou Chiming looked at the variety show staff who were already waiting and kept urging her to wake up quickly. Chapter 7 Live Broadcast. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was confused when she was woken up. She was surrounded by staff and asked to wear a headset and a small camera. Then she boarded the plane, sat down in her seat, and continued to sleep. She slept soundly, and fans who were waiting for the Top Brothers live broadcast room online were trying to confirm whether they had come to the wrong room. Is this Pei Che's relative? Who is she? Why haven't I heard of her before? Could she be his girlfriend? Netizens were talking about it, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo's sleeping time successfully became the first hot search. Pei Che's variety show guest is suspected to be his girlfriend. Nature Pei Che reveals his family members. Various entries became hot searches one after another, and fans and marketing accounts who smelled the scent flocked into Chí Miǎo Miǎo's live broadcast room. At this time, she was sleeping soundly with an eye mask on, completely unaware that she had become famous. The live broadcast room was filled with comments, all of which were about those who couldn't find the melon. What's going on? She is Pei Che's girlfriend. Is it public? Is what the marketing account said true or false? Anyone here can help me out. I'm a little confused as I'm new here. Is she a family member or a girlfriend? And what's the matter with a top star publicly announcing his relationship? Don't listen to the marketing accounts, don't believe in rumors or spread them, wait until this sister wakes up before we talk about anything else. Not only were tens of thousands of people waiting in the live broadcast room, but even the staff of Nature were waiting. According to the procedure, there was a single interview before boarding the plane. Now the single interview cannot be done. With such high popularity online, Nature also wants to get in on the action. The director waited for a long time and became sleepy, but the protagonist in the live broadcast room showed no sign of waking up. 2 hours later, the landing reminder sounded in the cabin. Chí Miǎo Miǎo woke up to the sweet voice of the flight attendant. After taking off her eye mask, she stretched lazily and finally came back to life. Wake up, director, please ask. She is pretty, but she doesn't look like my brother. Is she really my girlfriend? I don't want her. Is that person from the show also here, Fang Sini, the rumored girlfriend of brother Ci? Wu told her I'll see if it hurts when the slap in the face comes. Compared to Fang Sini, who is obviously unkempt and keeps sleeping in front of the camera, I would rather choose Fang Sini as my sister-in-law. The director who was following the filming was reminded and was about to step forward to ask questions when the plane landed and he picked up his luggage and left the airport. It was not until he got on the bus arranged by the program crew that he finally found an opportunity to do a single interview. Hello, I am the director of Nature. I have a few questions that require your cooperation. Chí Miǎo Miǎo touched the microphone on his collar and nodded in agreement. Excuse me, what is your relationship with teacher Pei Che? Chí Miǎo Miǎo hissed softly and said in embarrassment, it's better to let Pei Che answer this question. The third sister is now a top star in the entertainment industry. Her identity is too embarrassing. She was not told about this segment before coming. If she didn't answer well, it would bring bad luck to Pei Che. She knows the principle that the more she talks, the more mistakes she makes. The director had a subtle expression. Could it be that netizens were right, and that this person was his rumored girlfriend? Although it is a bit beyond the control of the program, if the girlfriend is really revealed in Nature, Nature will definitely catch the huge traffic. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't know what the director was thinking, so she asked politely, is it okay? Of course. The director asked a few trivial questions and then let Chí Miǎo Miǎo rest. She ran to contact the chief director to discuss various response plans. Soon, 3 more family members of the guests got on the bus. They were all strong men, and it was obvious that they were there to help. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, as the only girl, greeted them and sat in the last row with her bag. After a while, the last family member arrived. Chí Miǎo Miǎo happened to look up, and her pupils suddenly dilated. She suspected that she was hallucinating. At the same time, the barrage in the live broadcast room stopped for a moment, and was then filled with crazy "R. So handsome. Such long legs. I want to know all his information in 1 second. He actually tilted his head when he got on the car. Their head-to-body ratio is amazing. Are you sure he is not some forgotten artist? Whose family members are so good-looking? Just came from the handsome guy's live broadcast room. This is Fang Sini's cousin. It seems like he is a specially invited reinforcement. Chí Miǎo Miǎo covered her face with her bag. Who told her that she would meet Fu Simon here? Didn't he go abroad to study? How could he appear here, and on his way to record a variety show? Fu Simon got in the car and walked past the seat step by step. The tall man was dressed casually, wearing a black windbreaker and a backpack. He looked simple and capable, but the sharp coldness between his eyebrows made people stay away. When the director saw that the 5 family members were all present, she asked the driver to drive quickly. She didn't dare to say hello to the handsome guy who got on the car last. Fu Simon looked around and walked straight to the last row and sat down, which was next to Chí Miǎo Miǎo, with only 1 seat between them. Chí Miǎo Miǎo wanted to press his face against the glass, muttering to himself, I can't see her, I can't see her. He must not recognize her after not seeing her for so long. The bus was driving on the road. Chí Miǎo Miǎo secretly put down her bag and peeked at the man next door. He was sleeping with his eyes closed and headphones on, as if he really didn't recognize her. It's good that she didn't recognize him. Chí Miǎo Miǎo breathed a sigh of relief. If she participated in the program as Pei Che's stepmother and revealed that the guest's family member was her ex-boyfriend, that would be too explosive. It must be that she woke up in the wrong way. She just needs to sleep again and it will be fine. Chí Miǎo Miǎo put the bag on her face and took a nap. Fu Simon was one of her only 2 ex-boyfriends, and they were also old friends with whom she had loved deeply when they were young and frivolous but did not cherish each other. The bus was swaying, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo fell asleep again in a daze. In her dream, Fu Simon had not yet gone abroad, and he was young and flamboyant, and particularly dazzling. In the dream, he was hanging around her all day long, and the two were inseparable. In the dream, he was still the smiling boy, not the cold and grim one he is now. Meow, wake up! Wake up, we're here! Chí Miǎo Miǎo opened her eyes dazedly. The person in front of her overlapped with the boy in her dream. She seemed to hear him call Miao Miao, his favorite nickname. Arrive. He left after he finished speaking, still looking cold. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat up. The others had already gotten off the car and were waiting outside. She quickly put on her bag and followed. She laughed at herself, thinking that she was really sleepy. She obviously didn't recognize her, so how could she call her by her nickname? In the open space at the foot of the mountain, there was a helicopter ready to take off in the distance. After a brief introduction by the director, he arranged for them to get on the helicopter and be sent into the forest. It was Chí Miǎo Miǎo's first time riding in a helicopter. She felt a little uncomfortable sticking to the seat. The feeling was different from flying in a plane. It was exciting, but she felt quite insecure. As luck would have it, Fu Simon was on the same helicopter as her and happened to be sitting next to her. The man's long legs were placed casually, vaguely sticking to her pants. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was suddenly not afraid anymore. She relaxed and turned to look at the scenery outside the window. From a perspective she didn't notice, Fu Simon was also looking out the window. She was looking at the scenery, and he was looking at her. The fans who watched the live broadcast in its entirety had mixed feelings. It seemed that their sister-in-law, whom they did not like, was being targeted by someone. Chapter 8 Sister-in-Law. I can't accept Pei-che having a girlfriend, but I can't accept someone stealing my sister-in-law even more. Handsome guy, you'd better be looking at the scenery. Why would he peek at Pei-che's family? He peeked at them more than once on the bus just now, countless times. I have a bold idea, they don't know each other, right? I feel like there is something wrong between the two of them. You found a blind spot above. This is also the way I get along with my dog when we are in a Cold War. There was a lot of discussion online that the helicopter had already arrived at the material delivery point and the artists had been waiting for a long time. When the helicopter stopped, the guests came out one by one. The artists who saw the family members ran over, first gave them a warm hug, and then cried about how miserable their lives had been in the past few days. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was the last one to appear. Seeing that everyone else was hugging, she followed suit and opened her arms, ready to hug Howde and give him the warmth of family love. Pei-che raised the corner of his mouth and walked over slowly. Then, ignoring her embrace, he used his height to ruffle her hair, making her already shapeless hair even more messy. Pei-che, thank you for your hard work. Where are the things? Chí Miǎo Miǎo knocked the big hand off her forehead, then turned around, revealing the big bag on her back. Pei-che didn't hesitate to open the zipper, took out the ham bread and ate it. He ate so voraciously, as if he had been starving. Pei-che, it's Juten. I haven't had a full meal since I entered this crappy place. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was afraid that he would choke, so she took out a bottle of mineral water and handed it to him. Then she looked around and saw that the others were not much better off than Pei-che. They were also filling their stomachs with the food they got from their family members. Suddenly, she met Fu Simon's gaze. His eyes moved away from Pei-che and fell on the top of her head, and then on her face. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't dare to look at him any longer. She took slight steps and stood with her back to him. The look in her eyes that saw through everything was too scary. After a simple meal, Pei-che suppressed his madly roaring stomach and finally came back to life, becoming his arrogant and cocky self again. Pei-che, let's go, I'll take you to see my camp. Chí Miǎo Miǎo followed. The surrounding vegetation was lush, and in the early autumn weather, the ground was covered with fallen leaves, which looked very atmospheric. Pei-che, when you are bitten by mosquitoes at night, you won't say you have a sense of atmosphere. The little happiness in Chí Miǎo Miǎo's heart was shattered. She was too lazy to pay attention to him and just held up her mobile phone to take pictures. This program was very humane and did not accept mobile phones. Save some power, there's no place to charge your power bank here. Hiss, they don't look like a couple. A brother would never treat his girlfriend like this. She must be his sister. What's wrong with Fang Sini's cousin? His eyes were full of possessiveness, and when his brother touched his head, it seemed like he saw murderous intent. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, Sana, the program team asked about our relationship. What should I say? I told you not to call me Sana. Pei Che gritted his teeth in anger. Our relationship. Just tell the truth. Okay, then I'll say I'm your stepmother. Stepmother? Stepmother. What an explosive relationship, even more explosive than Pei Che's nickname being Sana. Suddenly I remembered the news a few days ago. The chairman of Pei Corporation passed away on his wedding day, leaving his beautiful wife heartbroken. Is that Pei the Pei of Pei Che? What? Stepmother. I can't accept it. It's better to be my brother's girlfriend. I really don't know what you are so surprised about. This stepmother owns a castle worth over 100 million yuan. Are you feeling sorry for her? Chí Miǎo Miǎo was quite sad. The small shed made of a few large leaves in front of her was the camp that Pei Che kept showing off. She thought the camp was spacious and bright, where one could watch the stars at night and drink and chat during the day. In fact, the camp built by Pei Che was not even worthy of being called a toilet. Pei Che, put away your disgusted expression, come on if you can. Women can't say no. Chí Miǎo Miǎo threw the bag to Pei Che and rolled up her sleeves. Wait. It was just a house built with wood, left over from her childhood play. She was already familiar with the rules of the variety show. The camp Pei Che mentioned was where they would live for the entire show. Since it is a place to sleep, it must be comfortable. Seeing that Chí Miǎo Miǎo was serious, Pei Che hurried to follow, fearing that his little stepmother would do something out of line. After all, her personality was quite uncontrollable. In the tool area provided by the program team, Chí Miǎo Miǎo took a liking to the electric saw at first sight, but it was a bit small. For the safety of the guests, all the tools were mini types. Pei Yi, what are you going to do? Are you really going to chop down trees? Chí Miǎo Miǎo, you know it, but you're still asking? I'll show you what a real camp is later. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked up at the sun. It was still early and she would definitely be able to stay there before dark. While other groups were still bonding and picking wild vegetables to cook, Chí Miǎo Miǎo and his son started working as lumberjacks. When the big trees couldn't be moved, they cut down small trees. The two of them were working very hard. Pei Che thought it was fun at first, but when Chí Miǎo Miǎo put together the framework and the wooden house took shape, his eyes lit up and he did whatever Chí Miǎo Miǎo asked him to do. As long as he can live in a real house today, Chí Miǎo Miǎo will be his real mother. They were busy from noon to evening, and many people came to watch the fun. Pei Che fell down from exhaustion, but Chí Miǎo Miǎo was like a cannonball, busy all the time with full energy. Due to limited materials and tools, the final wooden house was very small, only able to accommodate 2 1-meter wide wooden beds, with space for activities in the middle. The wooden house had doors and windows, and the windows were covered with white plastic bags by Chí Miǎo Miǎo. The door panels were made of several pieces of wood spliced together, giving it a very log style. The roof was supported by a large keel and covered with straw, on which stones were pressed to prevent the roof from being blown away by strong winds. As the sun set, Chí Miǎo Miǎo stood in front of the wooden house, admiring his masterpiece and nodded with satisfaction. Sana, can I do it? Great. That's great. Pei Che had already gotten used to Sana being a nickname, and his mind and eyes were filled with the wooden house. He now had only one thought: it must rain tonight, heavy rain, soaking everyone else like drowned rats. He turned his head inadvertently and was stunned. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was standing against the light, her whole body glowing gently. Pei Che was used to seeing beauties in the entertainment industry, and couldn't help being attracted to Chí Miǎo Miǎo. After looking at her for a while, he thought that it would be good for her to stay in the Pei family. If his elder and second brothers didn't marry her, it wouldn't be a bad idea for him to be wronged a little. Wow, what a beautiful little house. Fang Sini appeared holding wild flowers in her hand, and stood cleverly next to Chí Miǎo Miǎo. On one side was a gentle beauty holding flowers, and on the other side was Chí Miǎo Miǎo with her sleeves rolled up to her elbows and her face covered with dust. The little stepmother suddenly looked gloomy. Fang Sini, these are the flowers I just picked. I wish you a happy housewarming. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes lit up. Thank you, very beautiful flowers. Pei Che crossed his arms across his chest, generously showing off his wooden house, and even thought of a name for it: Pei Che's wooden house. Fang Sini's eyes were full of envy. It would be nice if I also had a wooden house. Sister, you'll be scared if you live alone at night, right? How about I stay with you? Chapter 9, San Er. What are you thinking about? Of course, she and I will live in my cabin together. Pei Che suspected that he was hallucinating. How could he be afraid standing here alone? If her eyesight was not working well, she should go to the eyes. Har 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 har, Pei Che's expression is so funny. I believe that he and his stepmother are innocent. The IQ of both of them combined is not as high as Fang Sini alone. Some people should be so scheming. They want to occupy the magpie's nest in the name of protection, and they dress up and stand in front of the stepmother who has finished her work. TSK TSK TSK, this is to highlight their own beauty. Look at Pei Che's eyes, as if to say, I haven't even moved into my new house yet, and you're already taking it. Where's your face? Pei Che, there are always people who want to snatch my stepmother from me. I have to be careful. Fang Sini smiled awkwardly and explained unnaturally, you misunderstood. I saw that you two were single and it would be inconvenient to live together. It just so happens that my cousin brought a tent, and you guys can live together since you're all boys. Pei Che declined, thank you for the invitation. There's nothing wrong with me and my mother living in the same room. Fang Sini, Mom. Hey, it's me. Chí Miǎo Miǎo responded with a smile. It's great that there are people calling me Mom everywhere. Fang Sini knew Pei Che's background and reacted quickly. She was surprised that Chí Miǎo Miǎo could get along well with the Pei family and greeted them politely on the surface. Sorry, I didn't know you were my aunt. We have stewed pheasant tonight. Would you like to join us for dinner? Fang Sini extended a dinner invitation. No. The mother and son both refused at the same time. Pei Che didn't want to leave the new house at all. Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt guilty. She was very satisfied that Sana was on the same front with her, so she politely sent him away. The sky darkened and the wooden house lit up with an orange-yellow light. It was the small desk lamp that Pei Che brought with him. In the dense mountains and old forests at night, having a small house with lights on makes one feel very safe. At this moment, the other four families in the distance cast envious glances at them from afar. Thanks to stepmother, brother Pei Che has become a homeowner. I'm so touched. A child with a mother is a treasure. Thinking back to the day before, Pei Che was wrapped in leaves and covered with blankets, bitten by mosquitoes, frightened by the cries of unknown wild animals, and trembling with fear to fall asleep. Today, his happiness index soared. Fang Sini's cousin actually brought a tent and court pheasants to cook. This group of relatives and friends are so awesome. Sana, what shall we eat tonight? Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at her third son. He had consumed too much energy during the day and was now tired and hungry. Pei Che opened the bag. What flavor of dry food do you want to eat? Chí Miǎo Miǎo leaned over to take a look. Besides their ham bread, there were also compressed biscuits. She reached out and took one. I'll just eat this. Pei Che was also hungry. He finished a piece of ham in 2 or 3 bites. He felt his phone vibrate, opened it and was shocked. A loving family group. Stepmother, bread picture. Stepmother, Sana made me eat bread, but no rice. Pei you? Stepmother, it's okay, I can endure hardship. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, what are you talking about? It was you who said that just eating bread is enough. Why are you complaining in the group? They won't pay any attention to you. Pei Che was so anxious that he verbally attacked. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't refute, but ate the bread with a wronged look on her face. Within the group. Pei Yu, Miss Kai is still growing, so she should eat something nutritious. Pei Yi, take good care of her. Pei Che angrily pressed 26 keys, she is older than me. I am the one who grew up. I am also the one who should be taken care of. After the group chat ended, Pei Che's good mood about living in the new house was gone. He sat on the small bed covered with hay and clothes, staring at Chí Miǎo Miǎo's look with resentment. Pei Che, they only listen to your one-sided words and are leaning towards you. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, this affects the harmony of our family. We are a loving family. How can we just listen to one side and believe it? Pei Che was too lazy to talk to her, and angrily lay down on the bed with his back to her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was chewing on a piece of bread, looking out through the window that was not closed tightly, her eyes full of anticipation and eagerness to try. At the same time, Pei Yi and Pei Yu, who had exited the group chat, looked at the live broadcast on the tablet at the same time. Their original intention was to worry that the young stepmother would act up on the show, but they didn't expect that they had been watching it for so long without realizing it. They only took a glance at it occasionally while working, so they were well aware of Chí Miǎo Miǎo's little actions. Watching the people in the camera send private messages to them and share their lives, this feeling is very strange, but inexplicably makes people want to participate. Pei stared at the group name of the loving family for a long time until the light on his phone went out. It was late at night and the only sound in the forest was the chirping of insects. Chí Miǎo Miǎo got up carefully, put on her small backpack, and tiptoed out of the cabin. "Ghost, here I come." Chí Miǎo Miǎo was very excited. After learning Taoism for so many years, she finally had a place to put it into practice. She had also tried to summon spirits in big cities, but there was no response every time. The master said that the yang energy in the city is too strong, and ghosts dare not stay there. Only in the remote mountains can the monsters appear. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was holding a flashlight, and all she saw were strange, shadowy figures. This was a forest that few people had ever set foot in, so there must be ghosts. The magical instruments were all hung around his neck. Chí Miǎo Miǎo held the soul-calling flag and muttered something. "Demons and ghosts, respond to my call and show yourself immediately." Chí Miǎo Miǎo is obsessed with catching ghosts. She has been learning from a master for so long and thinks she has made some progress, but she has not seen any results yet. Today, she must see what a ghost looks like. What is the stepmother doing? What is she going to do? She looks scary. It looks familiar. What is that thing hanging around the stepmother's neck? Is it a Taoist instrument? It looks like a shaman dance. I have a bold idea, stepmother is a warrior. The idea above is very bold, I agree, maybe the stepmother forgot there is a camera. Chí Miǎo Miǎo had indeed forgotten about it. She was only waiting for Pei to fall asleep before slipping out, and had long forgotten about the camera on her collar. With focused eyes, she carefully summoned the ghosts according to the spell taught by the master. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed before her eyes, and the fans in the live broadcast room were frightened into silence. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes lit up and she started chasing after him, and she succeeded. "Don't run." The darkness seemed to absorb light, and the flashlight provided a limited field of vision. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was certain that he was not mistaken, and he chased after him closely. Finally, the flashlight illuminated the black shadow, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo screamed, it really was a ghost. Fu Simon. Why would it be Fu Simon? It would be better to let her see a ghost. Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around and ran. The man behind her was stunned for a moment, then ran after her. Relying on his long legs, he easily caught up with Chí Miǎo Miǎo, who was running headfirst, and blocked her and asked in a deep voice, "Why are you running? Why do you care if I run? You can scare people in the middle of the night, but I can't run." Chí Miǎo Miǎo covered her face with her hands, trying to break through the man's defense and then escape. Fu Simon lowered his eyes and looked at her, trying to cover up her mistake. "Chí Miǎo Miǎo, look at me." Chí Miǎo Miǎo slowly put down her hands. She was recognized. Chapter 10 Big Melon. Now that you've been recognized, there's nothing to pretend about. Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled politely and waved hello. "Hi, what a coincidence." Fu Simon, unfortunately, I have seen the guest list. He didn't have the time to go to the United States to perform with Fang Sini, and if he hadn't seen Chí Miǎo Miǎo on the guest list, he wouldn't have come. Har? For the first time, Chí Miǎo Miǎo realized how useful her brain was. She immediately understood the subtext of his words. She was so shameless that a man actually came for her. "Well, you are busy. I have something else to do and I will leave first." Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around and tried to leave, but someone grabbed her by the throat and she said in a hoarse voice, "Let go of my collar." She turned back reluctantly and resigned herself to her fate. "If you have anything else to say, please finish it all at once. My son will be worried if he doesn't see me when he wakes up." "Son." Fu Simon put the tip of his tongue against his back teeth, trying not to get angry. "Chí Miǎo Miǎo, are you addicted to being a stepmother? Look at what you said. I am just a stepmother. It's just my responsibility. How can I be addicted or not?" "Fu Simon, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, what do you want? Where is the arrogance you had when you were with me? If that old man doesn't die, are you really going to live with him and be someone's stepmother?" Chí Miǎo Miǎo was hurt by his words, and a dim light flashed in her eyes. She quickly raised a smile, nodded, and joked, "So you are angry here? I was young and frivolous, and I was arrogant towards you. I apologize here. I was wrong. Can we go now?" Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled carelessly, turned around and prepared to leave. It was so unlucky. He should have gone in the opposite direction to catch ghosts. He didn't expect the fake ghost to turn out to be the real one. How unlucky. Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Chí Miǎo Miǎo? Two shouts came at the same time, one with gnashing teeth in anger, the other panting with uncertainty. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes lit up and she responded loudly, Sana? I'm here. Pei Che ran over quickly. He was sleeping soundly in the wooden house when he was suddenly woken up by the phone. His elder brother and second brother were calling him as if they were urging him to come out and find his little stepmother, saying that she was blocked by a wild man. He was so scared that he put on his shoes and went out to look for someone, fearing that something might happen to Chí Miǎo Miǎo and bring shame to the Pei family. Pei Che, Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Why are you running around so late at night instead of sleeping? Chí Miǎo Miǎo, look at the stars and the moon, what do you care about me? I can't care, let's go back. Pei Che completely ignored Fu Simon. It was always others who took the initiative to get to know the top idol, the young master of the Pei family, and he was unwilling to condescend to get to know a nobody. How could Chí Miǎo Miǎo disagree? She was happy that Pei Che arrived at such a timely moment, so she quickly followed and left. Fu Simon was left standing there, staring at her back for a long time without moving. I finally dared to breathe. Help me, if I stay up late at night, I can eat melons. There are too many knowledge points for me to sort out. It's too sure. I feel like if Pei Che showed up a little later, Fu Simon would have been able to kiss him. He was so angry that his veins were exposed. The little stepmother knows how to poke a person in the lungs. Fang Xinyi's cousin came for Pei Che's stepmother? What kind of explosive relationship is this? Are they still lovers who broke up? Wow, this is a big melon, keep it ripe. Although, what I despise most is women who cling to the rich, but when it comes to the little stepmother, I always feel that she has something to hide. Inside the wooden house. Next time you go out, remember to turn off your camera. Pei Che fell asleep immediately after he finished speaking, not caring about his stepmother's personal life at all, as if he had just gone out to look for her only to complete a task assigned by his eldest and second brothers. Chí Miǎo Miǎo belatedly glanced at the camera. Was everything recorded? Anyway, she didn't have many relatives or friends, so it didn't matter. She took out the mosquito repellent and sprayed it around the bed a few times. After making sure there were gaps between the doors and windows, she lay down on the bed with her clothes serving as a bed sheet and went to sleep. The bedboard is so hard. The production crew is so honest that they didn't even offer to give away a mattress or something. Chí Miǎo Miǎo thought she was dreaming, reliving her youthful and arrogant past, but she didn't expect to sleep all night long. After waking up, she felt a little regretful because she didn't see a ghost last night. Pei Che, wash up and change clothes when you wake up. Today is a group activity. Chí Miǎo Miǎo nodded a little slowly, holding her clothes and going to the bathroom provided by the program team to wash up. It was a group activity, and what was coming could not be avoided. The men's and women's washing areas are separate. When Chí Miǎo Miǎo arrived, there were two female artists putting on makeup inside, Fang Xinyi and the popular young actress Zhou Jiqing. Seeing Chí Miǎo Miǎo come in, the two people who were chatting and laughing stopped. Fang Xinyi greeted her with a smile, while Zhou Jiqing glanced at her meaningfully and turned away, pretending not to see her. Anyway, there was no camera in the bathroom, and Zhou Jiqing was too lazy to put on a show. She looked down on women who married old men for their money and vanity. Chí Miǎo Miǎo nodded in response to Fang Xinyi, then buried her head in washing up. She was now suffering from back pain, and her arms and legs felt so heavy that they seemed not her own. It's my fault for being too arrogant yesterday. I had to show off my skills in building a wooden house. Not only was I exhausted, but I also had to sleep on a hard bed all night. Oh no. I hope today's survival in the wild will be easier. Perhaps it was because her faith in Taoism was too pious, today's mission was indeed not difficult. After everyone gathered, the director announced today's tasks. Picking wild vegetables and fruits, river fish or rabbits, as long as they are wild and legal, the family can work together to make delicious lunch and lunch. Chí Miǎo Miǎo curled her lips. It was wild and legal. The pheasant someone caught yesterday was definitely not legal. The director was still reading the list of sponsors when Pei Che came over and whispered, "Leave the wild vegetables and fruits to you. I'll go fishing in the river." Chí Miǎo Miǎo, I want to eat rabbit. Pei Che, I want to eat it too, can you catch it? Chí Miǎo Miǎo stopped talking, thinking of his stupid son who looked good but was useless. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, How do you eat the wild vegetables you picked? Boil them. Pei Che, for the sake of the guests, the program team will provide kitchen utensils, seasonings, rice, flour and oil, provided that they are exchanged for the food they picked. Chí Miǎo Miǎo understood. It was the bartering practice in primitive society. They really treated them as savages. The mother and son whispered to each other, completely ignoring the other four groups. Fu Simon's eyes were as sharp as a knife, and he wanted to poke them into plugs. Disband. As soon as the director finished speaking, the others set off with baskets, plastic bags and other containers in high spirits. Chí Miǎo Miǎo and Pei Che looked at each other and followed slowly in the same pace. Sana, I want to lie down. Lie down and you won't have any food to eat. I can live on bread. No, that's my dry food for the next week. I have to save it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo stood still and looked at him solemnly. Sana, whether my mother and I can have a full meal today depends on you. Pei Che frowned. What about you? Mom is old and wants to go back to rest. Pei Che didn't say anything, but showed his attitude with his actions. He pushed Chí Miǎo Miǎo's back and manually helped her keep up with the large group of people picking wild vegetables. The boss told you to take care of me. Brother is not here, so his words are not effective. Chapter 11 Savage. Half an hour later. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was picking wild vegetables with a plastic bag in her hand unhappily. She looked up at the sun. The weather was so nice that it would be a pity not to sleep. This is not just picking wild vegetables, this is just wasting time. Chí Miǎo Miǎo aimed at a sunny spot with thick grass, lay down there, and put her hat on her face to block the sun. It was really nice. The grass was soft and warm, much more comfortable than a hard bed. Her behavior of not caring about her image at all surprised the fans in the live broadcast room. In just one day, the popularity of the stepmother's live broadcast room remained high. Many people wanted to see what Pei Che's family looked like, but after coming in, they were attracted by Chí Miǎo Miǎo's personality. She got along with Pei Che very naturally, and was much more pleasing to the eye than the father and daughter who were putting on a show in the next room. He's sleeping now? Didn't he say he was going to pick wild vegetables? What to eat and drink for lunch? Pei Che would be so anxious if he saw this. My dear mother, please get up and pick some wild vegetables. Pei Che can't be relied on. He has been a synonym for misery during the past few days on the show. He is the control group for survival in the wild. Envy, the little stepmother has such a comfortable attitude towards life. She has done everything that others want to do but dare not do. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't sleep for too long. When other families had already made a small harvest, she slowly began to pick wild vegetables, complaining in her heart that when Bouchuan picked wild vegetables to become a queen, while she picked wild vegetables to feed her son. They both had the same miserable life. When the handbag was full, Chí Miǎo Miǎo slowly returned to the picnic camp provided by the program team. She left half of the wild vegetables for herself and exchanged the rest for a frying pan and a small amount of flour and seasoning. TSK, what a black-hearted capitalist. He only gave me a bowl of flour for all those wild vegetables. Chí Miǎo Miǎo shook the flour in her hand, hoping that Sana could catch lots of fish so that she could live a life of luxury, and then lie down for a nap. At noon, when everyone came back, Pei Che's embarrassed figure came closer and closer. Chí Miǎo Miǎo squinted her eyes and looked at him. The man with wet trouser legs and dirty body like a wild child, was he her young, handsome and top-tier son who made a living by his good looks? Where's the fish? I didn't catch him. Pei Che didn't care about the dirt. He sat on the ground, then looked at the pot that belonged to their group. I'm hungry. Chí Miǎo Miǎo opened the lid of the pot with a complicated expression, revealing the golden vegetable pancakes. The ingredients were limited, only enough for 2 vegetable pancakes, no more. Thank you, Mom. Pei Che's eyes sparkled with excitement. At this moment, Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes were shrouded in golden light, and small golden wings were waving behind her. It was definitely his angel mother. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, go wash your hands. The mother and son were eating fried biscuits. Not far away, the other 4 families had soup and vegetables. Fangsani's group had stewed fish and roasted rabbit, and their food was the best among the 5 families. The worst off was Zhou Jiqing's family. Neither she nor her father knew how to cook. They had fish and vegetables, but ended up making a pot of fishy and astringent stew. Pei Che quickly finished the pancake and looked at Chí Miǎo Miǎo with an unsatisfied look. I'm not full. Chí Miǎo Miǎo glanced at him, then looked at the half-full pancake left in her hand, cut it in half, and fed it to her son who had underdeveloped limbs. You gather wild vegetables in the afternoon, and I'll catch fish. Pei Che was too humble to express any opinion. After eating the pancakes, the mother and son, who were still hungry, discussed where to go for a nap. At this time, Fang Sini came over with 2 bowls in her hands. Before she got close to Chí Miǎo Miǎo, she could smell the fragrance, fish soup and stewed rabbit. She couldn't help swallowing her saliva, they were all her favorite foods. Fang Sini, we have too much food. My cousin and I can't finish it. I'll give these to you. Pei Che looked at Fu Simon, who was not far away, with a serious expression, and no one knew what he was thinking. Chí Miǎo Miǎo refused without hesitation. She was a strong-willed person and was determined not to eat anything from her ex-husband's brother. The smile on Fang Sini's face froze. What's going on? She offered the food to him, but he still refused it. If Fu Simon hadn't insisted, she would not have bothered to share the food with outsiders. Fang Sini, Pei Che, please accept it. You will have no strength if you don't eat enough. Pei Che retracted his gaze and said, thank you, I'm not used to eating food cooked by outsiders. Fang Sini couldn't hold back her smile. She could eat the pancakes made by Chí Miǎo Miǎo, but she couldn't eat the rice she cooked. Was she openly disliking her? The more Fang Sini thought about it, the more uncomfortable she felt. Her eyes suddenly turned red. Everyone knew that she liked Pei Che, but not only was he unromantic, he also embarrassed her in front of the camera. Forget it. Fang Sini left with tears in her eyes. She looked aggrieved and forbearing, which made me feel sorry for her. I wanted to kick Pei Che and then hold her in my arms to comfort her. She cried. Chí Miǎo Miǎo approached Pei Che and accused him in a low voice, you made her cry. Pei Che, then I'll call them back, and you can eat. Chí Miǎo Miǎo quickly shook her head and taught her like an elder, remember to be gentler when talking to girls next time. Then the mother and son got up at the same time and found a place to take a nap. In the opposite direction of them, the guests from other groups saw Fang Sini crying, and they rushed over to comfort her and performed various shows in front of the camera. Zhou Jiqing accepted the fish soup and rabbit meat sent by Fang Sini, and said indignantly, don't bother with that barbarian. He has 800 tricks, more than all of us combined. To be able to secure the position of Mrs. Pei, it is impossible that she has no means. Male guest Yu Feiyue spoke up to help. He had a crush on Fang Sini and had been courting her since the show started, trying to pair them up to stir up popularity. Now that he saw his sweetheart being wronged, he was very angry. There was a clanging sound. Fu Simon threw the spoon into the iron pot, scaring the others. He looked at Zhou Jiqing and Yu Feiyue with a cold face. No matter what kind of character Chí Miǎo Miǎo has, he would never talk about others behind their backs. You are good people, and you don't gossip and slander others behind their backs. After he finished speaking, he sneered, and no matter how ugly the expressions of the people present were, he left and went to rest far away. Cool, the ex-husband is domineering to protect his stepmother. Let us not talk about the ethical issue first. Doesn't he comfort his cousin? Isn't he that a bit too much? What's wrong with Fang Sini's cousin? He suddenly threw things and got angry. He doesn't have violent tendencies. He defended an outsider regardless of his cousin's life or death. His character is terrible. If this weren't the right occasion, I'd really like to see how my cousin and his stepmother fell in love. It must be very interesting. To be honest, I want to watch it, too. Chí Miǎo Miǎo woke up and found only Pei Che by her side. She sat up and looked towards the camp. The others were nowhere to be seen. They must have gone out hunting. She had already adapted to her identity as a savage, but Pei Che obviously hadn't. The young master was used to a life of luxury, so helping her build a house with wood and sleeping on a wooden bed was challenging his limits. A staff member came over to remind them that it was time to complete the task, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo quickly signaled the other party to speak in a low voice. Let him sleep. I'm going to do the task. When he wakes up, I'll remind him to pick wild vegetables. Chí Miǎo Miǎo stood up and straightened her clothes. She wanted to keep a low profile, but her sun was not full, so it was time to show her ability to climb trees, to take bird eggs and go to the river to catch fish. Chapter 12 Rabbit. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was yawning as she walked, not yet awake. The other groups definitely isolated her and her son. They didn't show up for a long time, so she couldn't even find anyone to ask for directions. The little stepmother is in a bad state. I'm really worried that she'll find a place to sleep. She keeps yawning. The other groups were full of desire to perform, showing off in front of the camera, but these two were different, each one sleeping better than the other. After the little stepmother came, Pei Che became visibly lazy. It was all because the warm sun was too tempting. Chí Miǎo Miǎo tried hard to control her body's urge to run towards warmth. She tried to identify the direction in a daze and walked down the slope. After walking a long way, they finally heard the sound of water. Chí Miǎo Miǎo shook the pointed wooden stick in her hand. This was the secret weapon she made along the way, a harpoon. The stick is a sharp weapon and is absolutely invincible in the water. The riverside was very lively, almost all the guests were there. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was not familiar with the people and did not want to go over and get bored, so she simply walked away and had fun by herself. The river water was icy cold. Chí Miǎo Miǎo stood barefoot in the water, staring at the surface with the wooden stick in his hand ready to strike. Suddenly, there was a flash of light on the water surface. It was now. The wooden stick was thrust into the river, creating a large splash of water. However, there was nothing on the stick. The stick went astray, the fish ran away, and there was nothing left. Oh, you didn't catch him. Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around when she heard the voice. It was Fang Xini, with the sullen-faced Zhou Jiqing beside her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo thought to herself, these two are really inseparable good sisters, just like the villains in the drama. Fang Xini, my cousin caught fish this way this morning. He's really good at it. He always catches one accurately. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, it's really good. A good teacher produces good students, and Fu Simon has a good student. Zhou Jiqing took Fang Xini's wrist and said, let's go. My dad seems to have caught some fish. The two of them walked away, leaving Chí Miǎo Miǎo with a confused look on her face. So, did they come here to show off that their family members are good at catching fish? Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt that she was being underestimated, so she rolled up her sleeves and decided to get serious. An hour later, Chí Miǎo Miǎo dragged her numb legs out of the river. There were more than a dozen fish of different sizes piled on the shore. They were the fruits of her labor and should be enough to feed her son. With a thud, something fell next to the fish. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was so scared that she almost jumped up. What was that? Looking back, I saw a rabbit with its hands and feet tied. Looking up along the huge shadow, she saw Fu Simon standing behind her without her noticing, and it was obvious that he was the one who released the rabbit. Chí Miǎo Miǎo picked up the rabbit and threw it farther under his gaze. Watch your rabbit, it might hit my fish. Fu Simon, now it's your rabbit. If you don't want to send it cooked, then send it alive. Chí Miǎo Miǎo frowned, you can't catch rabbits in the river. I appreciate your kindness. Take it away. Fu Simon turned and walked away, remaining cruel to the end. You don't understand what I'm saying. Chí Miǎo Miǎo made ropes out of hay and carefully strung the fish together one by one. After hunting, she brought the fish home. As for the rabbit sent by my ex-husband, it was still jumping around in the same place, trying hard to save its life. Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Fu Simon caught up with her, holding the pretend dead rabbit in his hand. His brows were slightly furrowed, and he looked at her as if she were a rebellious child. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, don't worry, I definitely won't accept the rabbit, just go do what you need to do. Fu Simon, I'll make it and send it to you in the evening. Fu Simon, what do you want to do? I said I don't want your rabbit. Do you think it's appropriate given our current relationship? There are always a lot of gossips around a widow, so she wants to keep herself clean and try to get a chastity arch to put at her door. Suitable. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took a deep breath, and considering that the camera was still live, she suppressed her temper that was still wild due to her youth and smiled, I appreciate your kindness. She shook the fish she caught, I have food and I won't go hungry, so please take your rabbit. Fu Simon watched her walk away, his dark eyes misty and it was impossible to tell what he was thinking. He loosened his grip, and the fat rabbit fell to the ground, along with the rope. The rabbit was free and disappeared into the woods in the blink of an eye. Fang Xini chased after him, but only saw her distraught cousin. She didn't see Chí Miǎo Miǎo or the rabbit. Her eyes flickered slightly. She knew without a doubt that the rabbit must have been given to Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Minute? What is your relationship with Chí Miǎo Miǎo? Fu Simon walked away, it's the kind of relationship you have in mind. Fang Xini clenched her fingers in surprise. They had actually been together. How could it be possible? How could a child like Chí Miǎo Miǎo, who grew up in an ordinary family, have a relationship with her cousin who had just returned to China? Unless they knew each other before going abroad. Fang Sini's pupils dilated. She knew that the Fu family had been in fierce internal strife in the past few years. Fu Simon's mother didn't want her child to grow up in that kind of environment, so she sent him to live with his grandparents. When Chí Miǎo Miǎo returned to the camp, Pei Che was already there. She looked around and asked, "Where are the wild vegetables?" Pei Che, "No. No. What flavor of northwest wind would you like to eat tonight?" "I don't want to eat the northwest wind, I want to eat rabbits." Pei Che smiled proudly, took out a fat rabbit from his back, and showed off proudly, "See. I caught it while hunting." Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked carefully and found that the rabbit had grey fur and was not the one Fu Simon had. "Sana, you are awesome, you are worthy of being my son." "Woman, don't change your expression so quickly." Pei Che was in a good mood and didn't bother to argue with Chí Miǎo Miǎo. He saw the fish in her hand at a glance. There were so many of them, more than a dozen. "You caught all these?" "No, they jumped up by themselves." The other groups had not returned yet, so Chí Miǎo Miǎo kept half of the fish and exchanged the rest for kitchen utensils and condiments. Fish is more valuable than wild vegetables. Chí Miǎo Miǎo exchanged them for fish, rice, flour, oil, seasonings, and a large amount of salt. "Pei Che, what are you going to do with so much salt?" "Chí Miǎo Miǎo, one fish is enough for us, and the extra ones can be pickled and eaten later." Pei Che couldn't cook and had no say. After following Chí Miǎo Miǎo for a while, he was assigned to kill rabbits. "Are you sure you want me to kill you?" "What else?" "Let me, a weak woman, go." Pei Che looked at the knife she was using to kill the fish, and didn't dare to refute. He picked up the rabbit and went to the side to deal with it. The little stepmother is so powerful. She made the arrogant Pei Che obedient and did whatever she asked him to do. "Are you going to make salted fish?" "It doesn't look like it." "I know this, my mom used to make it often. She would marinate the fish, steam it, and then dry it. The longer it is dried, the better it tastes, and it tastes better than shredded squid." The least favored family member and foreign aid turned out to be the most powerful one. The little stepmother slapped him in the face with her strength, and Pei Che also became the first permanent guest of nature with a house and food storage. When the aroma of meat emanated from Chí Miǎo Miǎo's pot, the other groups returned together. The camp was filled with the strong smell of spicy rabbit cubes, and those who had been hungry for the whole afternoon swallowed their saliva unconsciously. Zhou Jiqing touched Fang Sini's shoulder and whispered, "Look, the rabbit that my cousin caught is in someone else's pot." Chapter 13, Fanning the Flames. Without Zhou Jiqing's explanation, Fang Sini had already imagined the scene of her cousin chasing Chí Miǎo Miǎo to give her a rabbit. For a moment, Fang Sini thought of the embarrassing scene in which her food delivery at noon was rejected, and her heart was filled with grief and indignation, and her anger was surging uncontrollably. "Zhou Jiqing, I thought he was so noble, but he rejected you at noon, and then accepted the rabbit sent by his cousin. He said one thing in front of others and another behind their backs. It's obvious that he despises you." The fan was blowing, Fang Sini exploded successfully, and strode towards Chí Miǎo Miǎo's group. Pei Che squatted in front of the pot without moving away. He wore a mask to prevent his saliva from falling into the pot. As he was protecting his food, he noticed the invasion of outsiders at the first time. "Are you guys busy?" Pei Che frowned. "Want to eat for free?" "Fang Sini, I came to see you guys. I thought you guys didn't eat rabbit meat. Turns out you didn't want to eat the one I gave you." Chí Miǎo Miǎo and Pei Che nodded at the same time. Yes, I just don't want to eat what you give me." "You guys." Fang Sini was furious, "You guys are going too far. The rabbit in the pot is ours. Even if you don't say thank you, there's no need to insult it like this, right? Your rabbit." Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at Pei Che, holding the spatula in her hand. "You want her rabbit?" "Pei Che, how is that possible? I caught the rabbit myself." He stood up and showed off his long legs. "Look at the hole in my pants, it was torn when I was catching rabbits this afternoon. How can the rabbit I caught with injuries become yours?" Chí Miǎo Miǎo stretched his head over and confirmed that the wound had healed. He looked up at the stunned Fang Sini and suddenly realized. "You don't think the rabbit in the pot was given by Fu Simon, do you? Isn't it? I've seen it all." Fang Sini felt more confident immediately when she thought of the scene she saw in the afternoon. Pei Che had been a survival loser since the beginning of the program, so how could he have caught a rabbit by such a coincidence? The commotion here attracted a lot of people to watch, and the popularity of the live broadcast room soared. Wow, the Shura field is here. I love watching the plot twists and turns. I hope Fang Sini can still be so confident later. Zhu Jiqing is really surprising. She is very skilled at stirring up trouble and using someone else's knife to kill someone. Talking about people behind their backs is the most shameless thing. Too much. My brother caught the rabbit with his own strength, and he said it became yours with just a smack. Didn't you see that his leg was injured? You came to my house to accuse me without even figuring out the matter. These two siblings are more interesting than each other. This is embarrassing. The rabbits in the forest are not raised by your family, but you can put your family name on the ones in other people's pots. How shameless. Pei Che also found it quite interesting. He understood that Fu Simon gave the rabbit to his stepmother, so he confiscated it. He was particularly satisfied with this. As a member of the Pei family, it was right for him not to accept it. Pei Che, what did you see? Did you see Chí Miǎo Miǎo collect the rabbits, or did you see her put the rabbits into the pot? Pei Che pointed at the rabbit killing scene in the distance. I caught the rabbit and I killed it. There is still rabbit fur and blood over there. Take a closer look to see if it is the one you lost. Don't think that all the rabbits in the world belong to you. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, yes. Sana is so domineering, and he caught the rabbit in time. Fang Sini tightened her fingers and looked at Zhu Jiqing at a loss. She seemed to have really misunderstood. Pei Che didn't look like a liar. If he really misunderstood, she would really become a joke. Zhu Jiqing was also panicked. How can it be such a coincidence? What a coincidence. Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled slightly. If there is nothing else, you can leave. We are going to eat. Fang Sini was more than happy to do so, and she wanted to go back and ask Fu Simon, etc. Pei Che, you are not allowed to leave until the matter is explained clearly. He finally had a chance to get some fun, but before he could even eat the rabbit, they came to spoil his fun. He couldn't be the only one upset. Hey you, please come over and explain that the rabbit we have in the pot is not yours. And by the way, take care of your family and don't come here to cause trouble for no reason. Pei Che looked at Fu Simon, who was coming back from washing the food in the distance. He raised his chin slightly, with a bad look on his face and a provocation that only a man could understand. It's not mine. Fu Simon walked over, his eyes fell on Chí Miǎo Miǎo's face, and quickly looked away. My rabbit was released, this was caught by their group themselves. Release him, release him. Fang Sini said sharply, why did you release him? Fu Simon, didn't you say eating rabbits is too cruel? Fang Sini. Fu Simon turned and left, and Fang Sini hurriedly followed him, feeling extremely ashamed and angry. It was all over. Pei Che disliked her even less now. The misunderstanding was explained, the farce ended, and the rabbit in the pot was cooked. Pei Che felt relaxed both physically and mentally. Not to mention the difficulty of catching the rabbit. At this moment this rabbit was the highlight of his life and was worthy of being recorded in the history of the Pei family. Why are you grinning like an idiot? Eat your meal. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at the white rice, her stomach growling, she was so greedy. Wait a minute, I'll take a picture and post it on WeChat Moments. Pei Che quickly took out his cell phone and took a 365-degree photo of the dining table. He also took a photo with Chí Miǎo Miǎo, then edited the message and sent it. The top streamers' friend list includes various circles, celebrities, Pei's senior executives and relatives and friends, second-generation circles and university friends. At this moment, they all saw Pei Che's circle of friends. In the photo, Pei Che was smiling brightly with one hand on Chí Miǎo Miǎo's shoulder. There was a simple meal on the table in front of him, but he was smiling with the joy of eating a full banquet. Friends who were lucky enough to see the post in their circle of friends gave likes with different thoughts. The Pei family was shocked by the relationship between Pei Che and Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Those who had watched the variety show commented happily, and those who had not watched the variety show mistakenly thought that Pei Che had found a girlfriend. The most lively thing is the group chat among the loving family. Pei Che ate his meal in big gulps, which did not prevent the water from dancing on his fingers. He took photos of the food from various angles, as well as his feelings after tasting the rabbit meat and fish. He wanted to write the word "show off" on his face. A loving family. Pei Yu, Sana, you're going too far. I almost vomited when I ate bread and steak abroad. Pei Yi at stepmother, let me manage it. Pei Yi was added as a group administrator by the group owner. The next second after Pei Yi became the administrator, Pei Che was kicked out of the group chat by the administrator. Hey! Big brother kicked me out, pull me back in quickly. Chí Miǎo Miǎo buried her head in her food, promise not to spam the screen first. Pei Che hesitated. It was a pity that he couldn't show off on the screen. Okay, pull me in first. Within the group, Pei Che joined the group chat. Pei Che, Chí Miǎo Miǎo will be back tomorrow morning. Do you need me to bring you some local specialties? Pei Yu, spicy rabbit head, thank you for mailing it. Pei Yi, fish. Pei Che, you don't want anything. Okay, I got it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo closed the phone. Warrior, do you still want to go back to the Pei family? Pei Che paused while eating meat. Damn, forgetting that the eldest brother was treacherous and the second brother held a grudge, he quickly opened his phone and joined the group chat. Hee, I'm just kidding, big brother and second brother, you won't take it seriously, right? Don't worry, we have all the local specialties. The fish cooked by Chí Miǎo Miǎo is especially delicious. One fish is enough for each person, right? Chí Miǎo Miǎo was amazed. Wow, he is worthy of being a top star. Even his awkward performances are so passionate. Chapter 14. So scared. After eating and drinking, Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat in the corner waiting for dark. They had to leave early tomorrow morning, and the other groups had already started performing. She watched for a while and then moved closer to Pei Che, who was also being lazy. Sana, do you need to cooperate with the performance? I can. No need. I don't need that little bit of traffic and popularity. Domineering. Chí Miǎo Miǎo continued to lie there with a clear conscience, with a cinnabar bracelet wrapped around her fingers, mentally thinking about tonight's plan to catch ghosts in the opposite direction. It must be because she went out the wrong way last night that she met Fu Simon. Today she changed the route and she must see the real ghost before leaving the forest. I'll go with you. Pei Che said suddenly. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was alert. Where are you going? I'll go wherever you go. Catching ghosts and performing rituals. Anyway, you have to take me with you. Chí Miǎo Miǎo hissed softly. Catching ghosts was something that Taoist disciples had to go through. Not to mention that Pei Che was a burden, a young man full of vigor and vitality like him stood there, a yang energy charger. How could any wandering ghost dare to get close to him? Sana, listen to me. No, listen to me tell you something from the bottom of my heart. You can't go tonight. Pei Che nodded perfunctorily. Well, you continue to make it up. What are you saying? You are disrespectful to your mother. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's little thoughts were exposed, and she tried to use her status as an elder to suppress her unfilial descendants. Children, don't meddle in adult affairs. Pei Che put down his phone, looked at her short stature, and stretched out his long legs to prove who was the child. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was silent. She believed that there would always be a way out and she would find a solution. Cabin at night. Pei Che crossed his arms and stared at his little stepmother, trying to slip away right under his nose, but there was not even a window. I'm going to the bathroom. Chí Miǎo Miǎo stood up tentatively, walked to the door and looked back, but no movement. Pei Che raised his eyebrows. Why, I'll go with you. No, I can do it myself. Go quickly and come back soon. Okay. The door of the wooden house closed. Chí Miǎo Miǎo clenched his fist silently. Yes. Humph, that brat still wanted to target her, but he could easily escape. He still had to go to the toilet, or he might see some ghosts. It would be bad if he couldn't control himself and became incontinent. This time Chí Miǎo Miǎo learned her lesson and turned off all their microphones and cameras. It is impossible to know her whereabouts. Why are you here? After Chí Miǎo Miǎo took care of her physiological problems, she went out and saw Pei Che standing at the door of the toilet as a door god. After turning back to confirm that it was their women's toilet, she felt mixed emotions. Is this guy a pervert? You forgot to bring your weapon. Pei Che shook the small bag in his hand. That's a magic weapon. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took back her bag and was in a bad mood. What's the difference between catching ghosts without a magic weapon and going into battle without a weapon? Pei Che grinned. It was impossible to get rid of him. Proper letting go would help to achieve the goal quickly. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was striding forward in front. Wasn't this the start of the journey? I'm curious, how did the little stepmother become the wife of a wealthy family with her intelligence? Isn't she too easy to deceive? Wu Tilder the little stepmother wants to catch ghosts. Are there really ghosts in the world? The director didn't he come out to stop it? Can this be broadcast? Can a film promoting feudal superstition pass the censorship? Chí Miǎo Miǎo strode forward, turning back from time to glare at the follower. You'll be scared to death if you see a ghost later, it's not too late to go back now. Pei Che, I'm so scared, stepmother, remember to protect me. Har har, wishful thinking. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked faster, with several strings of magic tools hanging around her neck. She used a compass to determine the location and muttered to herself, hoping that a ghost would appear soon. It would be best if it was an ugly ghost, the kind that could scare Pei Che to tears. Pei Che followed not far away, the phone in his pocket flickering with news from his elder and second brothers, who also wanted to know why the little stepmother was so obsessed with catching ghosts. The charlatan's trick was too crude. Anyone who had attended kindergarten would not be fooled by it. However, the stepmother, a top student who graduated from a prestigious university, believed it without a doubt. Is it the distortion of human nature, or is it that the stepmother's IQ is too low? They walked for 2 hours. The chirping of insects disappeared at some point and the surroundings became quiet. The place where the flashlight shone was pitch black. Chí Miǎo Miǎo suddenly stopped walking. Pei Che's face was tense. When he saw his little stepmother stop, his heart skipped a beat. He quickly looked around. Are we there? You, why don't you leave? Did you see something? Chí Miǎo Miǎo did not respond, nor did she turn around, leaving Pei Che with a silent back, quietly doing something unknown. Pei Che's heart beat faster. First of all, he was a firm materialist. Secondly, he believed in science. Finally, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, say something. I'm not afraid. Don't try to scare me. There are no ghosts in the world. I know Sonder. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, please speak. Pei Che was panicking and approached Chí Miǎo Miǎo cautiously. He wanted to touch her but didn't dare. This sudden incident in the deep mountains and forests would scare anyone with a weak mentality to the point of peeing their pants. It's 12 o'clock in the evening now. Even watching through the screen is scary. Pei Che was able to hold on and not run away at the scene. He is already considered to be strong inside. What is the little stepmother doing? Did you really see that? I'm a coward, don't scare me. What are you doing? You are playing tricks on me. Where in the world did this come from? Pei Che suddenly jumped up and screamed, what the hell? Don't come over here. Just as he approached Chí Miǎo Miǎo's back, the motionless man suddenly turned around, and a mask with fangs and green face was put on his fair face. When the flashlight shone on him, Pei Che almost jumped to death. Chí Miǎo Miǎo tilted her head slowly. Sana, come here. Pei Che stepped back and said in a trembling voice, I won't. If you don't come over, I'll go find you. Chí Miǎo Miǎo moved as soon as she finished speaking, pretending to rush over, scaring Pei Che so much that he ran away and soon disappeared. I can't scare you to death. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took off the mask in a good mood and looked up. It was pitch black with no stars or moon. It was a good day to encounter ghosts. I looked at the time again and it was already past 12 o'clock. The time, the place and the people were all right, except for a ghost. She memoized all the spells taught by the master and brought all the necessary things. There should be no open flames in the forest, so Chí Miǎo Miǎo specially brought electronic incense. 3 electronic incense sticks flashing red light were inserted into the ground, and a few compressed biscuits were placed on the ground. These were all high-tech things not found in the forest. Ghosts would surely be envious when they saw them. 10 meters away, a figure stood there for a long time without moving. My cousin followed me all the way and finally got Pei Che to leave. Why hasn't he gone yet? Come on, we are alone in the wilderness, what is the best time to do something? What is the stepmother doing? She is so weird, is this the normal mental state of a normal person? It can't be some kind of evil magic. I heard that Pei's father died at their wedding, I have a conspiracy theory. Hey, my cousin is moving. He is going over. Chapter 15 I don't want to. Fu Simon walked towards Chí Miǎo Miǎo, and for fear of scaring her, he deliberately increased his pace. The moment she heard the footsteps, Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around in surprise, then looked at the electronic incense with disappointment. It must be because she was not sincere, so she would attract the fake ghost Fu Simon every time. She thought to herself that she would try using electronic firecrackers next time. It must be because the forest was too big and the ghost couldn't receive the signal. Fu Simon, it's useless. I can't see it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo lowered her eyes and quietly picked up the things on the ground, completely ignoring the people behind her. Fu Simon raised his hand to turn off the microphone, leaving only the camera to prove the innocence between the two. I'm sorry, I couldn't come back to accompany you when uncle and auntie were in trouble. You're too serious. The accident was not caused by you. Fu Simon tightened his fingers and wanted to reach out to hug her but didn't dare. Chí Miǎo Miǎo has been a materialist since she was a child. There is only one possibility for her to suddenly believe in ghosts, and that is that she wants to see her deceased uncle and aunt. That year, the day after he left without saying goodbye, his uncle and aunt died in a car accident. He didn't dare to think about how Chí Miǎo Miǎo, a little girl, managed to survive after losing contact with him and then encountering such bad news. Fu Simon, meow, I'm back. He added belatedly that his presence was particularly insignificant when she didn't need him. Chí Miǎo Miǎo paused while putting away her things, and quickly closed her bag as if nothing had happened. She turned around with a smile on her face and said, "Don't call me by my nickname in the future. If outsiders hear it, they will think I am stealing a name from a cat. Are you taking a walk? If nothing else, I'll leave first." Meow. Fu Simon held her wrist, anxiously trying to grab something. He was panicking because he came back late. There's really no need to do this. We're all adults now, and everyone has had a few relationships. The infatuated character doesn't suit you. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked down at the two people's clasped hands, and her heart skipped a beat. What was going on? Did her ex-husband want to get back together with his ex? I only blame myself for not knowing the good of men when I was young, and for only recognizing one person and wanting to grow old together. Times are different now, and her status is different too. She has money in her bank card, a castle under her name, and several apartments in the city center. It is not a problem for her to find a few 18-year-olds. The ex-husband in front of her, who was in his 20s, was no longer within her consideration. Several relationships. Fu Simon raised his voice and his face darkened in an instant. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, you are amazing. I've only been away for a few days and you've already had several relationships. You're dating very quickly. To be precise, it's not a few days, it's 5 years. The pace of dating is not very fast, it's just about 1.5 times the normal speed. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was so confident that she would not admit that she had only dated one person after her ex-husband left. One person was too few and she would lose face, so let the misunderstanding get even more intense. What are they talking about? I can see it but I can't hear it. How is this different from watching a movie with censored content? The atmosphere is a bit tense, the two of them are staring at each other, and the atmosphere of tugging and tugging has also reached. The next step is to kiss each other, kiss each other. Cousin, you better hurry up. Pei Che is already on his way back. He seems to know that cousin is with his stepmother. Someone called to inform him and scolded him. Fu Simon's temples were throbbing with veins. For 5 years, he had kept himself clean day and night, thinking about getting back together all the time. Now he was told that Chí Miǎo Miǎo kept changing boyfriends and was dating at a high speed. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, think about it before answering again. What you just said doesn't count. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked up, and in the dim light of the flashlight, she saw her ex-husband looking so fragile that he seemed about to burst into tears in the next second. He had a sad little expression and looked at her aggrievedly. God bless her, how could she deserve such kindness from her ex-husband that he would still miss her and participate in the variety show just for her? If she wasn't a widow, Chí Miǎo Miǎo really wanted to give her ex-husband a thumbs up. Meow meow, I will believe you as long as you say it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's heart almost melted, and she couldn't help but raise her hand to touch her ex-husband's eyes. With such handsome eyebrows and eyes, he must look very beautiful when he cries. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, stop it. There was a loud bang in the sky, and Sana made a brilliant appearance. Pei Che shouted and ran over quickly, his eyes wide open. What did he see? The little stepmother and the wild man were tugging at each other. He held her hand and she touched her face. His father's 7th day of death hasn't even passed yet, and his young stepmother is so shameless. If he comes any later, the old man's arm won't be able to be contained. Chí Miǎo Miǎo quickly distanced herself from her ex-husband and adjusted her clothes and hairstyle uncomfortably. It was very embarrassing to be caught by her son. Pei Che, what were you doing just now? You are still broadcasting live in the middle of the night. Pay attention to your words and deeds and your character. Chí Miǎo Miǎo lowered her head to look at her toes. That's right, her ex-husband was really uncultured. Pei Che, I'm talking about you, Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Was it fun to scare me just now? What if I meet a bad guy after I leave? Who knows what he's up to? With your brain that has no intelligence, you would think someone has found a good family for you even if you were sold out. Pei Che's words were full of double entendres and innuendos, and he cursed everyone present, launching an indiscriminate attack. Why are you being so mean to her? You know what Pei Jian is thinking. When she returns, Chí Miǎo Miǎo will move out of the Pei family and cut off all ties with you. Fu Simon stood in front of Chí Miǎo Miǎo and said coldly, I will go and discuss the relevant matters with Pei Yi in person. TSK, move out of Pei's house, ask her if she is willing to move out. Pei Che sneered, very unhappy with Fu Simon. Chí Miǎo Miǎo shook her head, I don't want to. She has not yet passed the crisis of life and death, and the Pei family is her amulet. It is impossible for her to move away. Fu Simon looked back in surprise, sad that Chí Miǎo Miǎo did not join him in the fight, but instead wanted to continue staying in the Pei family as a stepmother. Why? He wanted an answer. Because my home has good feng shui. Speaking of this, Pei Che exuded a sense of superiority from the inside out. The charlatan was right about one thing. Chí Miǎo Miǎo would be safe if she lived in the Pei family. Even if the feng shui couldn't protect it, his elder brother could. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, the main reason is that I can't bear to leave my 3 grown sons. I am happy to be a mother at a young age, and my 3 sons are young and handsome. I can eat 2 more bowls of rice every day just looking at their handsome faces. I am in a good mood and only then can I live a long life. Because Chí Miǎo Miǎo refused to cooperate, Fu Simon watched Chí Miǎo Miǎo leave again. His eyes were heavy and he made an important decision in his heart. What good feng shui, and the reluctance to part with his son are all fake, only the Pei family's property is real, isn't it just money? If his net worth is higher than that of the Pei family, how should Chí Miǎo Miǎo deal with it? Fu Simon took out his cell phone and called the family number, I agree to inherit the Fu group. That night, the rumbling sound of a helicopter hovered over the production crew. It was a special plane that came to pick up the heir of the Fu family. In the cabin below, mother and son were sleeping soundly, completely unaware that a business war was about to break out. Suddenly a piece of compressed biscuit hit Pei Che. Chí Miǎo Miǎo covered his head with clothes and said, Sana, turn on the mosquito coils. The mosquitoes are so noisy. Chapter 16 Brother. Pei Che closed his eyes, put away the compressed biscuits, turned over and continued to sleep. He was marrying a wife in his dream and had no time to get rid of mosquitoes. After picking up the young master, the oversized mosquito in the sky left quietly. The big forest returned to silence. The mother and son in the cabin fell asleep peacefully. The salted fish drying by their window gave off a faint fishy smell. The scene was comfortable and peaceful. That was not an ordinary fish, it was the stepmother's strong maternal love. Okay, I'll go home and enjoy myself later, and you stay here and continue to suffer. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took the initiative to pack up 2 fish as gifts for the eldest and second child. She could not be a partial parent and had to treat them equally and give them fair maternal love. Pei Che, hurry up and leave. I'll sleep in the big bed tonight. He acted very impatient, but in his heart he was a little reluctant. He looked up at the 3 fish left on the windowsill and felt hopeful about the next recording. Is she leaving now? I can't bear to leave my little stepmother. Director, can you please keep her as a permanent guest? I also want to see what a ghost looks like. I am from next door. Why didn't my cousin broadcast live anymore? Does anyone know what happened? I wanted to take one last look at the handsome guy. I know this question. My cousin left last night. I heard he was busy going back to inherit the family business. He will definitely come back strongly to win over the little stepmother. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't see Fu Simon after the gathering and breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that he left, as she couldn't handle her ex-husband's clinginess. Be honest when you go back, and don't embarrass the Pei family. Pei Che warned dryly, wanting to tell him to stay away from Fu Simon and not to contact any messy wild men. Chí Miǎo Miǎo nodded perfunctorily. The other groups were hugging and saying goodbye, tears streaming down their faces. She couldn't cry, but she also didn't want to stand there and be the only one. Sana, come and give me a hug. She opened her arms and looked at Pei Che with a smile. When he felt awkward, she took the initiative to step forward and hug him. She made money, she made money. The price of a hug from a top star was driven up to sky-high levels online, and it was hard to get one. Her price would start at least $1 million. Peiche's body was stiff, and he hugged his little stepmother back uncomfortably. He must be sick, as he could actually feel motherly love from the shorty. He came and left in a hurry, and after traveling for most of the day, he finally returned to Pei's house before dark. Chí Miǎo Miǎo ate 3 bowls of rice, happily enjoyed a colorful bubble bath, and then fell into a sweet dream on the soft big bed. This beautiful moment was broken until the next morning, when the water heater in her house broke down. No, it was in the rented house, and the tenant called and asked her to come over and take a look. After hanging up the phone, Chí Miǎo Miǎo was immersed in the gentle voice of the male tenant. For the first time, she was not in a bad mood when she woke up. She quickly washed, changed clothes and went out. Her tenants need her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo had a good impression of this tenant. Their house was near the university town, and the tenant was also a college student. He was sunny and handsome and also a sports student. At that time, she waived the deposit and gave a discount on the rent. It is definitely not that she is attracted by women, but she is mainly concerned about the difficulties faced by college students. Providing appropriate help can particularly reflect her civic qualities. Unfortunately, this tenant is too carefree and has basically no contact with her except for paying rent. Now that she finally has an excuse to meet him, she would feel guilty if she doesn't take a few more glances at his beauty. "Hi, I'm here to check on the water heater." The door opened and Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled sweetly, but the next second her mouth widened in surprise. Wow tilde. This casual tenant, with his upper body naked and wearing only sports shorts, was breathing rapidly, generously revealing his 8-pack abs. Crystal clear sweat slid down his tight skin, making him look like a naughty and alluring elf. "Sorry, I'm working out, please come in." Lu Xiang followed her gaze and lowered his head, then quickly walked to the sofa and put on his short-sleeved shirt. "It's okay, don't be so shy." Chí Miǎo Miǎo withdrew her gaze with regret, then walked to the bathroom and pretended to see what was going on. "There's no hot water. The circuit must be broken." Lu Xiang. Chí Miǎo Miǎo couldn't figure out what was going on, so she just called someone and waited for the repairman to come and fix it. If you asked her why she didn't call in advance to have the repairman come and fix it, this question is the same as why she came in person. It was definitely not to increase her opportunities to interact with the athletes, but because she was born to be serious and responsible. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat on the sofa, drinking the 1982 mineral water poured by the handsome guy himself, and pretended to look casually at Lu Xiang, who was doing sit-ups by the window. The sun shines into the room. A handsome guy with a plump but not greasy body is moving up and down. His loose shirt slides during the movements, revealing his powerful waist and abdomen. What a nice waist. Chí Miǎo Miǎo held up her nose with one hand. She was so irritated. It was all because the conditions in the forest were so poor. Her nose was now hot and she always felt that a familiar relative was coming. The athletic boy seemed to notice her gaze and his face turned red, with the blush spreading from his neck to his entire body, making him look exactly like a medium-rare prawn. When Chí Miǎo Miǎo saw this beautiful scene, her nose felt hot and she quickly blocked it with a tissue. "Oh my god, this is too stimulating and I'm getting a sore throat." Her eyes were full of passion. Lu Xiang stopped practicing and ran to the bathroom shyly. "I'm going to take a shower." "Hey! The water heater is broken. Cold water is bad for your health." The bathroom door slammed shut, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo threw the tissue into the trash can with regret. The child was still too young and lacked self-control. He couldn't hold on for just a few minutes. He hoped that he wouldn't stay in the bathroom for too long. 20 minutes passed and Chí Miǎo Miǎo stood at the bathroom door, hesitating and wondering. He hadn't come out for so long, could he have fainted? This is often written in novels, and there must be a reason for it. It is not safe for little boys to take a bath alone. They should make a video call or something so that they can detect danger in time. I raised my hand and knocked on the door, and the door opened the next second. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's hand just fell on Lu Xiang's abdominal muscles. Somehow, her fingers stuck to them and rubbed and caressed them. The feel of the door was really good, 100 times better than the glass door of the bathroom. Lu Xiang's body, which had just cooled down, became hot again, and he stammered, your hand." "Oh, I was worried that you might be in danger because you took too long in there." Kai Miao Miao touched it reluctantly, then withdrew her hand regretfully. Her new brain was very useful and its reaction was too fast. If she waited a few more seconds, she would have touched his abdominal muscles. Lu Xiang smiled shyly, feeling quite touched. Thank you. Hey, you're welcome. I just felt a little guilty. Lu Xiang's big eyes were particularly sincere. I'm not being polite. You know, I've been an orphan since I was a child. I have never enjoyed the warmth of my family, and no one really cares about me. Kai Miao Miao, I know now. The little brother in front of him was so miserable. Such a good child had no one to care about him. Don't worry, I will be your family from now on. If there is anything, please contact me as soon as possible. Remember, you can contact me at night. Lu Xiang nodded with emotion, his eyes red. Just as he was about to say something, the maintenance man arrived and interrupted the two of them standing at the bathroom door to recognize each other. Chapter 17 Green Hat. Oh, the young couple has such a good relationship. Kai Miao Miao shyly denied it, and Lu Xiang lowered his head with a red face. The maintenance man smiled like an uncle. He understood that youth means passion. Even if we are in a good relationship, we can't freeze. It's autumn now. Aren't you cold with your bare chest? Kai Miao Miao turned her head and saw Lu Xiang with a bath towel wrapped around his waist, his upper body naked, his half-dry hair still dripping with water, maintaining the posture of a beauty just out of the bath. I looked at her with pity. Snap! The arrow of the naked Cupid hit her chest, and she seemed to see Prince Avanti riding a donkey, running towards her on a colorful cloud. Lu Xiang changed his clothes and came out. The maintenance technician had already fixed the water heater. Before leaving, he kept praising the young man for being in good health and taking a cold shower in the middle of autumn. The water heater was fixed and it was time for her to leave. Kai Miao Miao looked back reluctantly. This was her house, and the man she loved lived here. Why couldn't she stay? She hated it. Elder sister. Lu Xiang said in a low voice embarrassedly, can I call you sister? It's okay if I can't. Able. Kai Miao Miao quickly agreed. Not to mention sister, you can even call her wife. The word, sister, really touched her heart. Who in the family would understand? Okay. Kai Miao Miao suppressed her voice and pretended to be a sweet girl. She wished she could go out and buy 2 pink dresses right now and pretend that she was a high school student. Late at night at Pei's house. Kai Miao Miao was nestling in the luxurious room, lying on her 8-meter-long bed, holding her mobile phone with a shy look on her face, her fingers tapping the 26 keys, chatting with her brother Afanti non-stop, immersed in the calls of sister, with the corners of her mouth grinning to the back of her head. No kidding, she's really in love. The iron tree blooms, and the rich widow welcomes the second spring of her life. After that day, Lu Xiang sent good morning, good afternoon, and good night messages every day. He would occasionally post some interesting things about school and call Kai Miao Miao sister. This made Kai Miao Miao completely lost in her brother's beauty. Another short selfie video was sent over. Kai Miao Miao giggled while holding the phone. After watching it over and over again, she decisively clicked save. Behind the sofa, Uncle Huang and Auntie stood in a row, both of them staring at Kai Miao Miao's back with the same solemn expressions. Auntie, it's getting cold, how about burning a hat for the old man? How about a green one? Uncle Huang, prepare a few more styles, the Pei family is rich. Auntie, do I need to tell the 3 young masters that Madam is going to find a stepfather for them? Mr. Huang, sure, go and tell him. No one responded after Mr. Huang finished speaking. He turned around and saw his aunt sitting on the sofa pulling wool, preparing to knit a hat herself, as a way of repaying the old man's care in the past. Kai Miao Miao finally had enough of seeing, reluctantly put down her phone, picked up the fruit and started eating. Auntie, are you going to knit a sweater? The green is so bright. No, I'm knitting a hat. Kai Miao Miao bit a piece of fruit in her mouth and said vaguely, green hat. This color looks quite sympathetic. When a man wears a green hat and goes out on the street, dogs have to give way to him. Although he goes out alone, the shadows of the other 2 people follow him closely, which is commonly known as a threesome. Auntie, I want to knit you a hat out of sympathy. Kai Miao Miao, Auntie, you are a very nice person. Like to give green hats to others. The aunt looked at her meaningfully, and silently lowered her head to knit a hat. Uncle Huang was right. The weather was getting cold, so she should knit a few more styles to wear in turn. After a week of chatting on the phone, Afanti's younger brother modestly invited him to a date and have lunch together, saying that he wanted to feel the warm atmosphere of having a meal with his family. Chí Miǎo Miǎo instantly thought of herself and felt empathy all of a sudden. Secondly, if you have been single for a long time, you really need the change of pace with the opposite sex, otherwise it is easy to get out of balance. In order to keep the appointment, Chí Miǎo Miǎo got up early in the morning and dressed up. According to her brother's age, she wore a small skirt and made herself look young. She looked at herself in the mirror and found herself perfect. "Auntie, you don't have to cook for me at noon. I'm going out." Chí Miǎo Miǎo left in a happy mood, and Auntie and Uncle Huang watched her go with complicated eyes. "Mr. Huang, it's getting cold, the red plum blossoms in the corner are about to bloom. Auntie, the hat is ready. I'll burn it for Grandpa when I have time." Uncle Huang put his hands behind his back with a serious expression. He felt sorry for the old man who had passed away and the trust of the eldest young master. He actually allowed his wife to have an affair. He was guilty and he would burn his hat on the table now. The Pei family is rich and their big villa is built halfway up the mountain. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked for a long time in her high heels, and then she regretted that she should not have cared about her brother Afanti's self-esteem and refused the driver's offer to take her there. Just as she was about to call someone to pick her up, a van suddenly stopped in front of her. The car stopped suddenly and two strong men jumped out, grabbed Chí Miǎo Miǎo and dragged her into the car. They behaved barbarically and rudely, and it was obvious that they were not good people. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's hands were controlled by two burly men on the left and right. "Who are you? Why did you arrest me?" The strong man was silent and no one responded. This was the first time that Chí Miǎo Miǎo was kidnapped in her life. Although she was nervous, what she was thinking about was her date with Afanti's brother. Why did they kidnap her on her first date instead of earlier or later? Chí Miǎo Miǎo was furious. If she hadn't been wearing a little skirt today, she would have fought them to the death and let them see how powerful the 251st direct disciple of Lingyun Temple was. The van sped along, and the driver drove towards a remote road. The vehicle went further and further away, and finally stopped at an abandoned factory. The driver got out of the car, talked to the people inside for a few words, and then asked the strong man to take her down. The money was handed over to the people in the factory, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo was handed over to the people in the factory. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's pupils dilated. He sold her out in front of her? Wait, you can't leave. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's brain was working at overspeed. "I have money, I will pay double what they give you, no, 10 times. The driver was moved, but the sturdy man remained silent. "If you listen to me, I promise to forgive you for what happened." Chí Miǎo Miǎo continued to persuade, "You know who I am. I don't need to tell you the consequences of angering the Pei family. You can decide for yourself. If you let me go now, you will be mine. Not only will you get more money, but you won't be retaliated against. How do you think that is?" The people inside the door were anxious, hiding in the shadows and urging the driver to send the person in quickly. "If you charge money for doing the job, you should keep your word." The driver chuckled and said, "When we charge money for a job, naturally we listen to whoever pays more. Da Zhuang and Zhuang, untie the boss." Chí Miǎo Miǎo regained her freedom and had 3 more younger brothers. She kicked the door and walked into the factory, walking in arrogantly with Da Zhuang and Zhuang. Don't think that she doesn't know who is inside through the crack in the door. Even if Zhou Hui's fake stuff was burned to ashes, his weight would still be 2 taels less than others. The door opened and the light illuminated the situation inside. The 3 members of the Zhou family were hiding in the factory in a panic, holding weapons in their hands, staring at her angrily, wishing they could eat Chí Miǎo Miǎo alive one by one. Chapter 18, Affair. He has been forced into a desperate situation by Pei Yi. The instigator of all this is the woman in front of him. Even if he dies today, he must take someone with him. Zhou Hui held a shining knife in his hand and rushed over with gritted teeth. "Go to hell." It was all because of the appearance of this woman. If she hadn't interfered, he would have gotten half of the Pei family's property, strengthened the Zhou family, become a new wealthy upstart, and eaten the best kidney tonifying medicine. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took a step back without panicking. "Da Zhuang and Zhuang, go ahead." The taciturn strong man rushed out instantly. Facing the knife without any hesitation, he subdued the weak Zhou Hui in just a few moves. Da Zhuang sat directly on him to protect the new boss's safety with his own hands. Seeing Zhou Hui fall into the hands of the kidnappers, Mrs. Zhou panicked and burst into tears. Zhou Zhixin's eyes turned red with shock from the scene before him, and he rushed forward with a steel rod in his hand. I'm going to kill you. Who are you trying to kill, you little jerk? At the critical moment, the driver who had been standing behind Chí Miǎo Miǎo stepped forward, kicked Zhou Zhixin to the ground, bent down to pick up the steel bar, and knocked it on the ground from time to time. Zhou Zhixin trembled on the ground, and the evil spirit that had been surging in his heart disappeared. He said with a pale face and hatred, "You are not trustworthy. You changed your mind at the last minute about the deal you agreed on. You are traitors." The driver chuckled, "Young man, that's not right. Our deal is to bring people here. Now that the deal is done, of course we can take new orders. Remember to give a 5-star rating, dear." Chí Miǎo Miǎo came back to her senses from the fear just now. My goodness, this family really wanted to kill her. She stared at Mrs. Zhou and flexed her wrists. What followed was a fight between women. If she didn't vent her anger, she would feel sorry for her elder son who had brought danger to her. My hair, madman. Don't touch my face, let me go, Lao Zhu, save me. Mrs. Zhou screamed continuously. She had always been a pampered wife, so how could she be a match for Chí Miǎo Miǎo? The scene was bloody and chaotic. Even the driver, who had been on the edge of a knife for years, frowned and couldn't bear to watch. Soon, Mrs. Zhou's hair became disheveled, and she hid from Chí Miǎo Miǎo, who was fixing her hair, with a look of fear on her face. If it weren't for the fact that her skirt restricted her performance today, she would have fought for another 300 rounds. Chí Miǎo Miǎo put on her high heels and looked at Zhou Huyu, who was avoiding her gaze. She walked over step by step, squatted beside Zhou Huyu like the driver, and said coldly, "Wimp, get up and kill me." Zhou Huyu was pinned down by Dazhuang, unable to move. "It seems that you are not able to do it again. It's time for me to take over." Chí Miǎo Miǎo took out her cell phone from her bag and called Pei Yi. "Son, you almost lost your mother." She explained the address in a few words, then asked Dazhuang and Erzhuang to tie the Zhou family members to the abandoned machines in the factory. After making sure that they could not escape, she called the driver and set off. "The money has been transferred, and the extra money is for travel expenses." The driver chuckled, took the money and did the job, then drove the van at a racing speed and soon arrived at the university town. Chí Miǎo Miǎo adjusted her skirt as her high heels landed on the ground. Behind her, the driver leaned out of the window and said, "Beautiful lady, I look forward to working with you next time." Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked back at him. This man who earned 2 salaries while doing one job was her role model. She immediately walked over and decided to chat with him further. "I am the 251st direct disciple of the Taoist Lingyun Temple. If you have any troubles in this regard in the future, remember to contact me and I will give you a discount." The driver's expression changed slightly. "Beauty, this business." Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled, "Catching ghosts, exorcising evil spirits, one-stop service." The driver suddenly felt a chill on his back. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's smile seemed weird to him. He stepped on the accelerator and drove away, leaving Chí Miǎo Miǎo disheveled in the wind. "Elder sister." Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around in surprise and saw Lu Xiang standing on the side of the road, smiling at her. At this moment, all the flowers bloomed, as if the air was sprayed with toilet cleaner, and the fragrance was overwhelming. "I thought my sister wasn't coming." Lu Xiang put his hands behind his back and lowered his head shyly. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked over quickly, calling Su Peixing in her mind, and immediately washed Lu Xiang and sent him to her bed. Chí Miǎo Miǎo showed a worthless smile. "How could it be? My brother asked me out, so I will definitely come. For my sister." A bouquet of flowers was placed in front of her, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo widened her eyes in surprise. An unknown expert once said that a formal date starts with a bouquet of flowers. After receiving the flowers, the two started their date. No, it was a late lunch. At the dinner table, Chí Miǎo Miǎo ate in small bites with a reserved manner, but Lu Xiang opposite her was the opposite, eating meat and rice in big mouthfuls. He wished he could pack up the soup at the bottom of the plate and take it away to mix with rice in the evening. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was stunned the whole time. Damn, when it comes to eating, neither Zhuang nor Zhuang might be his match. This made her feel very distressed. Her brother was still growing, how could he not have enough to eat? She immediately took out her card and swiped it hard. When Lu Xiang returned to school, his hands were full of gifts. Chí Miǎo Miǎo watched his brother go back to school with a lingering look on his face, and the next second he impatiently took out his cell phone from his pocket. 10,086 missed calls, all from her big son. Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Go home right now. After hanging up the phone, Chí Miǎo Miǎo rubbed his ears that were deafened by the yelling. What's the difference between making a phone call without waiting for the other party to reply and sending a voice message? It's so shitty. At the Pei family, Pei sat on the sofa waiting for a long time, while Aunt Huang behind him had a blank expression on her face and dared not say a word. Tell me what you want from me. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat down without hesitation. Auntie, I want to eat some fruit. I'm thirsty. The aunt quickly agreed and fled from the place in a hurry. Pei stared at her with a serious look. Chí Miǎo Miǎo couldn't go a day without causing trouble. Originally, the Zhou family kidnapped her, and he was feeling guilty about it. Then he received the news that she was having an affair. For some reason, Pei had the illusion that he was cuckolded. Pei, where have you been? Chí Miǎo Miǎo, it's my freedom to go wherever I want. But you, next time you deal with someone, remember to root them out. I'm timid, and I won't be so lucky to be safe if I'm kidnapped again. So, you have to compensate me for my mental damages and reimburse me for the money I spent on hiring a bodyguard. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sent the bill over, ignoring Pei's dark face, took out her cell phone to reply to Lu Xiang's message, and pink bubbles popped up all over her body. Pei just felt pain in his eyes. After transferring the money obediently, he stared at Chí Miǎo Miǎo's look with a heavy gaze. Wangbo, master, do we need to deal with the man who seduced the lady? Pei, what are you dealing with? Am I a bandit? What the hell, the Pei family is not a gang. After dealing with this one, there will be another one. He was under pressure from the Fu family in the company, but he didn't expect that his house would be robbed. The young stepmother has the intention to have an affair with the other man, and there is no way to stop her unless the tree is cut down. Chapter 19. Fire a salute and listen to the sound. You violated the contract. What contract? Do your best to be the mistress of the Pei family within this year, and cut off all the flowers and plants outside. Chí Miǎo Miǎo put down her phone. She understood that this wave was aimed at a Fanti's younger brother, who is saying that someone is having an affair. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was unhappy. Not to mention that she had just climbed over the wall. If she really jumped out of the wall and had an affair, she would definitely admit it. Now it is at most unrequited love. Do you understand the ambiguous period? At first glance, the eldest son is the top widow who is still in his first love. Pei was suddenly attacked personally. The fact that he was not as good as Chí Miǎo Miǎo in terms of speaking skills did not mean that he agreed with this matter. Uncle Huang, you go and talk to her. Pei decisively sought external help. Uncle Huang's eyelids twitched. He was a little unsure about his new wife's personality. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat up straight with her neck stiff. No matter who came today, she knew she had not cheated on her husband. Unless Lu Xiang confessed to her, she would never admit it. Pei winked and Huangbo stepped forward reluctantly. Madam, the old man just passed away 7 days ago. If you do this, he will be unhappy in the underworld. Chí Miǎo Miǎo pondered for a moment and felt that what Huangbo said made sense. Well, I'll do a ritual tonight, and you and Auntie can prepare the offerings. I'll take this opportunity to talk to him. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at Pei. If you are free, come. If not, I can bring a message for you. Pei took a deep breath, and the oxygen in the air suddenly became insufficient. Not only did the young stepmother admit it, she also planned to summon the old man's soul back to reminisce about the past. Nonsense. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, don't change the subject. It's best to stop thinking about having an affair. I don't agree with this. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, son, I know what you are worried about. You are afraid that I will find you a stepfather, but I am already a stepmother. A negative and a negative will make a positive. From now on, I will be your biological mother, right? Think about it, isn't this the truth? Pei was breathing rapidly and pointed at Chí Miǎo Miǎo for a long time without saying a word. Uncle Huang was so scared that he immediately found the oxygen cylinder and sprayed it at the young master. Uncle Huang, madam, please stop talking. The eldest master has a bad heart. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, when did it start to get bad? After you get married. Uncle Huang turned his back, not daring to look Chí Miǎo Miǎo in the eye. He was old and didn't want to go downstairs to keep the old man company for the time being. The world is good, he can live another 50 years. Suddenly, Chí Miǎo Miǎo put down her phone, her eyes widened with excitement, snatched Pei's oxygen cylinder, and sprayed it on herself. What did she just see? Lu Xiang confessed his love to her. Spring is here, everything is reviving, and it is the mating season for animals in nature again. Start over again. She wants to fall in love with her younger brother who is a gym student. Kai Miao Miao, Uncle Huang, do you have any fireworks at home? Let's set off a few and hear them. Uncle Huang, there are some in the warehouse. They are left over from your wedding with the old man. Soon, there were blasts of cannon fire over the Pei family, creating a lively atmosphere. What are you doing with the salute? Did you win the prize? No, I'm in love. Pei Yi's face, which had turned rosy from inhaling oxygen, suddenly turned dark. The salutes were paused, and he wanted to ask what was going on. The stepmother was having an affair and she used the fireworks her father bought to cheer her up? How outrageous. Too outrageous. Pei Yi, if I remember correctly, the old man just passed the 7th day of his death. Your love life is as fast as a rocket launch. True love always comes unexpectedly. Kai Miao Miao smiled shyly. You will understand when you reach my age. Pei Yi was silent. He was 5 years older than Kai Miao Miao. He would never reach her age in this lifetime, nor would he be able to catch up with her level of thinking. Kai Miao Miao fell in love and ran back to her room with her phone to fall in love. Pei Yi sat on the sofa for a long time, then opened the group that belonged only to the 3 brothers. Group name, No Little Stepmother. Pei Yi, my stepmother cheated on me. Pei Yu, good efficiency. Pei Che, who? Fu Simon went to visit his family. Boss, how did you do this? Didn't you say you were on guard against the Fu family? This variety show can't be recorded for even a day. People with the surname Fu just can't do it. I don't agree with this marriage. Pei Yi rubbed his brows with a headache. He agreed to change the groom. Did the 3rd brother forget that the old man's body was still warm? Pei Yi, it is not clear who it is yet. Fu Simon is busy taking over the family business and has no time to look for a stepmother. Pei Yu, little stepmother is lonely. Why don't I go back and offer myself to her? Pei Yi, nonsense. Pei Yi immediately quit the group chat, feeling exhausted, and began to doubt whether it was a wrong decision to leave his young stepmother at home. At night, the mother and son had dinner together. The next morning, mother and son had breakfast together. Silence was the prelude at the dinner table. Kai Miao Miao ate one boiled egg at a time, staring at her son. Don't try to guess what a man is thinking. You'll never understand it no matter how hard you try. Kai Miao Miao, I like to eat the food cooked by my aunt, so I go home often to visit her. Mom is lonely at home alone. Uncle Huang and Auntie looked at each other. Were they expelled from the human race? Pei Yi put down his chopsticks silently and suddenly he was no longer hungry. You will go to the company with me today. Kai Miao Miao, what is the matter? Pei Yi, there is a cooperation that requires your presence to sign. Kai Miao Miao didn't understand business matters. Adhering to the principle of trusting her son, she ate and drank her fill, followed her son into the car and went to the company, and then she saw her ex-husband. Kai Miao Miao looked at Pei Yi. Why don't you explain? Pei Yi, the heir of the Fu family, came to the Pei family to discuss cooperation and offered to make concessions. He has only one requirement, which is that you must be present. Kai Miao Miao, and then you sold me out. He is truly a great son to his mother. It's too formal to say that we're selling. We're all doing this for our own business. Pei Yi sat down in the main seat and poured tea for his young stepmother. His eyes were always on Fu Simon sitting opposite him, looking him up and down. The moment Kai Miao Miao entered the reception room, she was the only one left in Fu Simon's eyes. He now had status and position, had become good enough, and was confident that he could make Miao Miao live a happy life. Fu Simon, Miao, long time no see. It's been a long time indeed. Kai Miao Miao nodded. The last time they met was the last time. What followed was the professional negotiation time. Fu Simon and Pei Yi talked back and forth non-stop. Kai Miao Miao felt drowsy listening to them. She drank too much tea and didn't dare to go to the toilet. She just did her best to be the mascot. Until noon, the cooperation was completed. Kai Miao Miao stood up suddenly. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Where are you going? Fu Simon stood up right after him and said, I'll take you there. Kai Miao Miao, no. It would be somewhat immoral to let her ex-husband's brother take her on a date, and her conscience would be condemned. It's better for you not to go, Mr. Fu. Kai Miao Miao is going on a date, and it would be inappropriate for you to go. Pei Yi finished speaking calmly and poured himself a cup of tea to moisten his throat. That's really good. When you are worried about something, learn to transfer the stress to others, and you will feel refreshed immediately. Chapter 20 Tracking. Dating. Fu Simon widened his eyes in disbelief, as if a nuclear bomb had exploded. His ears began to buzz. What he just heard must have been an illusion. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, you heard me right, I'm in love. Who are you dating? The old man of the Pei family just died not long ago. Will the Pei family agree to you finding someone new? Fu Simon looked at Pei Yi. He didn't care about this. The next second, Pei Yi pulled out an emerald green hat from under the table. The color was bright and eye-catching, and it looked particularly friendly. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, the Qing dynasty died a long time ago. You should learn more about the new society and new ideas. Why can't I, a young widow, fall in love? Every year, a large number of young handsome guys enter and graduate from universities. If you don't talk about it and I don't talk about it, how pitiful these young handsome guys are. Fu Simon took a deep breath. Very good. He wanted to see which male enchantress had seduced Chí Miǎo Miǎo's soul. Chí Miǎo Miǎo insisted on refusing Fu Simon's offer to send her off and took a taxi out alone. A woman immersed in love would not notice that she was being followed. Pei Yi glanced at Fu Simon, who was acting suspiciously beside him. He must have lost his mind to agree to follow his stepmother. Fu Simon, if the Pei family can't take good care of Chí Miǎo Miǎo, return her to me. It must be that the Pei family didn't let Miǎo Miǎo feel loved, so she was easily abducted by the ghost fire boy waving his hands outside. Pei Yi, of course, it's not as good as your care. You disappeared without a trace when Chí Miǎo Miǎo's parents were in trouble. Now that the Kai family's daughter has grown up, he comes out again and wants to rekindle the old relationship. How shameless. A steel knife stabbed into Fu Simon's heart. The opponent always knows where it hurts the most. At this moment, Chí Miǎo Miǎo appeared in their sight with her boyfriend. Even through the car window, one could see that they had just fallen in love, and the atmosphere was innocent, with them feeling embarrassed to even hold hands. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked in front with reserve. Girls should not be too proactive in some things. They should learn to be fishing girls and attract the big-head cop boys to take the bait. However, Lu Xiang was too innocent. He stretched out his fingers eagerly, then retracted them, and stretched them out again eagerly. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was about to put her hand in his, but the kid put his hands directly in his pockets, his face red as if he had drunk fake wine. Fu Simon, how disgraceful it is to fight on the street. Pei Yi, your majesty is right. You can ask the eunuchs to beat them to death with sticks. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took her little lover and left in a taxi, and the two people who were following them hurriedly caught up. Arriving at the mall, the shy and reserved Lu Xiang suddenly became excited and his desire to buy sword. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at the decreasing balance on the card, feeling both pain and happiness. Lu Xiang said embarrassedly, when I have money in the future, I will buy a whole shopping mall for my sister to use as a cloakroom. Today, I have to let my sister spend the money first. It doesn't cost a thing, buy it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo swiped her credit card generously and continued to spend money on her brother. She had good teeth and liked to eat the cakes her brother prepared. On the sofa in the corner of the store, the peeping Zhou had mixed feelings. Fu Simon, Chí Miǎo Miǎo is so generous. She never bought me an eraser before. Pei Yi, it is indeed generous. If nothing unexpected happens, the Pei family will pay for today's consumption. As long as a man doesn't have to spend his own money, he can also become a shopping maniac. As night fell, Lu Xiang stopped with a reluctant look on his face. After the two had dinner together, they stepped into the campus carrying large and small bags. At night, as soon as Chí Miǎo Miǎo got home, she saw Pei Yi lying on the sofa. Is he feeling the warmth of family and planning to live at home permanently? Uncle Huang, are the things I want ready? Madam, everything is ready as you ordered. Chí Miǎo Miǎo nodded with satisfaction, then under Pei Yi's puzzled gaze, she changed into a new outfit and walked towards the backyard with a serious face. She was wearing a Taoist robe, her hair was neatly tied up on top of her head, and she was equipped with magical instruments. She stood in front of the altar, ready to communicate with heaven and earth. Pei Yi's mouth twitched, thinking it was hard for his stepmother to still remember the ritual after spending a whole day there. As stacks of paper money for the dead were put into the brazier, the aunt looked around in doubt. The lady seemed quite confident, and she didn't know whether the old man liked the hat she knitted. Mr. Huang, madam, it's almost time. Chí Miǎo Miǎo suddenly opened his eyes, followed the steps taught by the master, and lit incense with a serious face to announce to the heaven and earth, heaven above, earth below, and the underworld, listen to my orders, let Pei Jinhong go home quickly. Pei Jinhong is the old man's full name. Uncle Huang recited the family address aloud, fearing that the old man would not remember the way home at his old age. Pei Yi watched this farce with his own eyes. He must have been dumbed down by his stepmother, which is why he was curious about what she could summon back. Suddenly, a large blue flame suddenly came out of the burning paper money, and the aunt screamed and fell to the ground. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's face was solemn. Don't panic, the old man is here. Huang Bo quietly retreated to Pei Yi's side. Methane combustion will produce a blue flame. Methane was prepared according to the list left by his wife. Now it seems that Chí Miǎo Miǎo is very firm in his belief. He does not know the deep meaning of the master's secret recipe and insists that the blue flame is the presence of the deceased in person. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took a sip of white wine and held it in his mouth, then sprayed it at the peach wood sword. The peach wood sword spontaneously ignited without any fire. The action was so cool that the aunt was stunned. Oh my god, it turns out that what was shown on TV was real. The aunt clasped her hands together devoutly, muttered something, and bowed to the darkness again and again. Pei Yi frowned, and was stopped by Huang Bo when he was about to explain. He still understood this common sense. It was hard for his stepmother to be a graduate of a famous university, and he was curious about how she got in. Over there, Chí Miǎo Miǎo determined that the old man had arrived and started talking to the air. I'm Chí Miǎo Miǎo, your wife whom I've met a few times. I personally believe that a marriage is invalid without a wedding and a marriage license. But my 3 sons are so filial that they insisted on taking me in to take care of me in my old age. I called you up here today because I have something important to tell you. I'm in love and have a new lover. Don't worry about me down there. If you meet a female ghost you like, you can find another one. After all, love is free, and so are ghosts. By the way, if you don't have enough money, just tell the boss and the others in your dreams, and Uncle Huang will give you some money. Okay, there's nothing else to say. Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around and looked at Pei Yi. Boss, do you have anything to tell me? Come over and say a few words. Pei Yi left without looking back, refusing to communicate. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, old Pei, I'm not saying anything bad about you, but you're such a failure as a father. Your son doesn't even want to talk to you. Go back. If you didn't leave a good impression on your children when you were alive, don't make things difficult for them after you die. I will take good care of them for you in the future. Chí Miǎo Miǎo plucked out the burning incense in the incense burner, unilaterally hung up the conversation with the DI mansion, and did not let Mr. Pei take any more breath. The ritual was over, and Uncle Huang and Auntie cleaned up the mess. Auntie, I don't know if the old man likes the hat I knitted. I forgot to ask just now. Mr. Huang, after listening to my wife's words, I didn't turn into a ghost. I think I like it. Chapter 21 Liar. After that day, Chí Miǎo Miǎo and Lu Xiang officially began their relationship. The balance in the card was visibly decreasing, and she didn't get any benefit at all. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was still happy thinking that Lu Xiang was busy with his studies and there would be plenty of time in the future. Pei Che finally finished recording the variety show, finished his work, returned home, ate a big meal, slept for a day and a night, and then stopped Chí Miǎo Miǎo who was about to go out. Where are you going? Dating. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked around his long legs and prepared to go out happily, but the next second Pei Che grabbed her collar and brought her back to the living room, where they sat face to face on the sofa. Chí Miǎo Miǎo put her clothes in order and said generously, I'm in a good mood. I won't argue with you. If you have something to say, just say it. Pei Che crossed his arms and looked up and down at his young stepmother, who was dressed in pink. TSK, 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 no wonder she rejected Fu Simin. It turns out she likes younger people. Almost. Compared to Lu Xiang, Fu Simin is indeed a little older, 1 year older than her, and a veteran. Pei Che, tell me, how did this person cheat you out of money? Chí Miǎo Miǎo, what are you talking about? Take back the word liar, Mom doesn't like to hear it. She and Lu Xiang's brother were in true love, it was love at first sight, it was physical love, it was the most steadfast love, how could it be described with such a vicious word as deception? Pei Che picked up a piece of fruit and said with a smile, your card is almost maxed out, right? You can't even see such an obvious scam. Don't think you can't cheat just because you're young. There are a lot of men like this who live off you. You are so foolish that you think it is true love. If someone says that you have devoir in your head, even devoir would cry out for injustice. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, Sana, are you still single? Pei Che was silent, feeling attacked. Chí Miǎo Miǎo laughed. TSK, you big talker, my mom is so experienced in love that she can almost publish a book, so a love rookie like you should stay out of the spotlight. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll leave. Your stepfather must be waiting anxiously. Pei Che threw down the fruit, stood up immediately, and drove ahead to block Chí Miǎo Miǎo's way. I'll take you there. Go play somewhere else. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took a detour to leave. Pei Che, the driver is not here. Chí Miǎo Miǎo had no choice but to compromise and sat in the passenger seat of her celebrity son's car to pick up her boyfriend from school. On their way, Pei Che pointed at the steering wheel and occasionally stared at his stepmother in the rearview mirror. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, Sana, I admit that in terms of appearance, mom's beauty is comparable to that of a popular young actress. Please restrain your burning gaze. Mom doesn't like forbidden love. Let's not talk about the ethical issues. Mom has someone in her heart. Pei Che almost braked and got stuck in the middle of the road. He looked straight ahead and never glanced at Chí Miǎo Miǎo again. After a while, I couldn't hold it in any longer. Do you really like that boy? Did he save your life? Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled shyly, covered her face with her hands, and said in an embarrassed voice, he called me baby. Pei Che, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, you straight men don't understand. When you meet your true love, you will know how important the word baby is. Pei Che suppressed his nausea and drove along the speeding line all the way to his destination. He looked up and was delighted to see the school gate. The liar was actually his schoolmate. What a coincidence. Let's go in and pick up the liar from get out of class. Not good, people from the society are not allowed to enter. Pei Che shook his head confidently. You are a family member now, let's go, I will take you in. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was brought into the campus by Pei Che. She belatedly remembered that Pei Che was a college student. She blamed his top-tier image for being so deeply rooted in people's minds that they forgot that he was also a college student. Soon, the news that Pei Che had returned to school was exposed, and many students stood in the distance, whispering and pointing. What major did that little liar study? Have no idea. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took out her cell phone, ready to give her boyfriend a surprise. The moment the call was connected, a familiar ringtone sounded not far away. She looked and saw it was Lu Xiang. Not only was Lu Xiang there was also a girl traveling with him. The two of them were talking and laughing while walking side by side. Chí Miǎo Miǎo narrowed her eyes slightly. The bag that girl was carrying looked very familiar. It was very similar to the one she bought for Lu Xiang. Pei Che also looked over and noticed the change in his stepmother's mood immediately, then he smiled. Wu tilde. The weather is really nice today, really nice. Pei Che, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, your boyfriend is going to have a girlfriend. Lu Xiang panicked for a moment, but quickly regained his composure. Sister? Why are you in school? I'm here to pick you up for dinner. Chí Miǎo Miǎo tilted her head and looked at the confused girl. Who is this? Sister, please listen to my explanation. She is my. Shut up, I want to listen to my sister. Chí Miǎo Miǎo interrupted Lu Xiang and smiled at the girl with a kind look. The girl's eyes were glued to Pei Che's face, staring at him intently. Lu Xiang is pursuing me, and we are not officially together yet. The girl's face turned red with excitement. She took Lu Xiang's hand and asked, why didn't you tell me that you knew Pei Che earlier? I agreed to your pursuit. Pei Che tried to hold back his laughter until his stomach hurt, and quickly denied, no, I don't have any cheating boyfriends or friends who are just gigolos. I want to save face. Lu Xiang's expression kept changing, his face turned red with anxiety, and he looked at Chí Miǎo Miǎo helplessly. He wanted to explain but didn't know what to say. He was even more afraid that she would tell everything and he would not be able to live like a normal person in school. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at the person in front of her expressionlessly, wondering whether to call him a scumbag first, or just give him a big slap in the face. It's just like how it's played in TV dramas, with a forbearing expression, a hard slap, red eyes and harsh words, and then leaving without looking back. So cool. Hey, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, are you stupid? Pei Che touched her shoulder with his fingers. The little stepmother didn't have any brains to begin with. Would she be too sad and stupid? Chí Miǎo Miǎo pushed his hand away. Sana, beat him. Chí Miǎo Miǎo thought about it and felt that one slap in the face was not enough to quell her anger. Neither the strength nor the angle was enough to calm her anger. Now she had only one thought in her mind: all her money had been spent on this thing. Yes, sir. Pei Che really wanted to get into trouble, so he rolled up his sleeves and started beating him without saying a word. In just a few moves, he knocked Lu Xiang to the ground. He still had the nerve to say that he was a sports student. What a fake! He turned into a wimp at the critical moment. After the beating, Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt relieved, and then she called the police first to ask Uncle Hat whether it was illegal for him to cheat on her. Then, Lu Xiang, who was beaten, was taken away for investigation. The victim was comforted by the policewoman in the hat and took a photo together. Go out happily and go home with a sad face. Pei Che turned a corner halfway. He was hungry and wanted to eat first. Pei Che thought that his stepmother was upset because of a breakup and had no appetite. After the food came, Pei Che didn't even have the chance to pick up his chopsticks. He watched as his stepmother inhaled it violently, as if she was the one who was thrown into the forest and lived as a savage for half a month. Chí Miǎo Miǎo wiped her mouth after eating and drinking. It's comfortable. I've never been full since I went out to eat with that guy. Pei Che, hey, that guy. Don't call me baby anymore. Chapter 22, Baby Tilder. With a snap, the sharp knife hit Chí Miǎo Miǎo's heart, and the word baby was already stained. Let the past go with the wind. She wants to seal her heart and lock away her love, devote herself to the Tao, and never believe the lies of handsome men again. You can listen to the uglier ones, after all, he can't deceive you. Pei Che was in a good mood and asked the waiter to pay the bill. He was not hungry, he could eat as much melon as he wanted. He was very happy to see his little stepmother being single again. The scene that happened on campus was quickly spread online. Pei Che's top-tier identity caused the incident to ferment quickly. At the same time, Chí Miǎo Miǎo was also recognized, and the online topic instantly went viral. Top star Pei Che seems to have failed in his pursuit of love and started a fight on campus. It is revealed that the wife of a wealthy family could not bear the loneliness and cheated on her husband. Actor Pei Che caught the cheating man and beat him up. Entertainment star Pei Che and his wealthy mother and son bully the weak. Pei Che was taken to the police station for investigation. The topic broke out. Pei Che was picked up by the company to deal with the follow-up, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo locked herself in the room, and no one knew what she was doing in there. Auntie held a rag in her hand and looked up at the second floor worriedly. I heard that the wife was heartbroken. Uncle Huang, the third young master, has informed his entire family of the good news, saying that he was cheated of money and feelings, and that he went out with a scumbag and still couldn't eat enough. Auntie, not full. Have an extra dish tonight. I'll stew some brain for you, madam. Mr. Huang nodded and said, you are what you eat. Madam, you have learned a lesson from your mistakes and probably won't be cheated in the future. Pei turned off the surveillance and looked at Fu Simon, who came to Pei's every day to report in under the name of cooperation. My family said she was so upset that she locked herself in her room and cried. Are you sure it's Chí Miǎo Miǎo who's crying? The smile on Fu Simon's lips was harder to suppress than AK. Breaking up is good. Breaking up is good. After reading the entertainment report, he instantly had a better impression of the third son of the Pei family. It would be even better if he could punch people with greater force, and throw left hooks and right kicks to send people directly to the sky. Pei coughed lightly to suppress his smile. He didn't quite believe it. It was true that his stepmother locked him in the room, and it was indeed abnormal for her to stay indoors and not go out. Please make some arrangements. I want to see her. Fu Simon decided to press on and seize the opportunity. Pei, Mr. Fu, are you mistaken? I am not your subordinate. Chí Miǎo Miǎo is now the mistress of the Pei family and I will not see any other men. The Qing dynasty fell a long time ago. Remember to learn more about modern new ideas. Feudal ignorance is not acceptable. Fu Simon learned this from Chí Miǎo Miǎo. It's very effective in arguing with people. Mr. Fu has a hobby of liking married women. No, I like the widow. Fu Simon got the information he wanted, stood up and straightened his collar. If there was no opportunity, he would create one. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was the person he had chosen, and there was no way she could escape. At the same time, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, who had been staying indoors, was placing orders frantically online. She had figured out that money should not be spent on men, and it was more reliable to spend it on the ancestor because men would betray her, but the ancestor would not. The Grandmaster will stand behind you unwaveringly and protect you without hesitation when you need him. Then, Chí Miǎo Miǎo enthusiastically ordered a number of magical instruments and exorcism items. Unfortunately, the master was nowhere to be found, and she had some questions that needed answers from him. As for Lu Xiang, he also called and sent messages to explain and seek peace, but Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't listen to him and directly blocked him and deleted his one-stop service, and by the way, listed the house with the agency. When Chí Miǎo Miǎo thought about Lu Xiang still living in her house and using the luxury goods she bought to pick up girls, she wanted to go downstairs and ask her aunt for a green hat. It was dinner time, and Pei Yi and Pei Che were both at the table. "Is there anything delicious on my face? Why are you staring at me?" Chí Miǎo Miǎo stared back. She had just tasted the bitterness of love. There was no need to be surprised. "That's just a small amount of money. Don't be sad. Just keep this card and you will have living expenses deposited into it every month." Pei Yi comforted her in a domineering way and directly gave her a bank card, and he would pay for all the expenses of their relationship. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes lit up, and her finger touched the bank card little by little. "Can I ask how much the living expenses are?" "Pei Yi, 500,000 per month." In a flash, the bank card was put into Chí Miǎo Miǎo's pocket. Men and other things are just spice of life, and her family is everything to her from now on. Pei Che sighed softly. "Baby Tilda, I need some pocket money too." The smile on Chí Miǎo Miǎo's lips suddenly stopped and instantly shifted to Pei Che's face. He laughed non-stop and did not forget to explain to Pei Yi the origin of the baby. "Baby Tilda, I like a bag. Baby, the food in the cafeteria is so bad. I want to go out and eat something good. Baby Tilda, baby, why don't you speak Tilda?" Pei Che smiled wantonly, but Pei Yi tried not to laugh. His hands were shaking as if he had Parkinson's disease, and he couldn't even pick up a single vegetable. "Pei Che, you're done." Chí Miǎo Miǎo called Pei Che by his full name, but it was not enough to express her inner anger. She rushed upstairs, took out the peachwood sword, and chased Pei Che to fight. "Monster, where are you running to? Only a fool would not run. If you say that again, I'll send you to be with evil spirits. Baby, I'm so scared Tilda." The two of them were chasing each other. Pei Yi was eating calmly, and in the distance, Uncle Huang and Auntie were watching with smiles on their faces, their eyes full of satisfaction. "Uncle Huang, it's been a long time since I saw the young master smile happily." "Aunt, yes, Madam is the first woman that the young master brought home." After being disturbed by Pei Che, Chí Miǎo Miǎo not only got over the breakup, but also did not forget to block and encrypt this memory. This is not love, this is a dark history. With the living expenses sponsored by her eldest son, Chí Miǎo Miǎo's small treasury was full again. Before she could go out and spend it, she received an invitation to a party from her junior high school classmates. Class reunion. After replying to the group message, Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt puzzled. A gathering at this time of the year must be because one of the classmates became rich overnight and urgently needed to show off. Only a large gathering with many classmates who knew each other well could satisfy the desire to show off. As expected, the party was held in a high-end hotel. Chí Miǎo Miǎo locked the shared tram, walked into the hotel with a 4-digit per capita price, found the organization according to the box number, and successfully joined the small group. While eating the free fruits before the meal, I also asked who the new rich man that the host was showing off today was. Then, the huge box suddenly became quiet, and everyone looked at her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo had a mouthful of fruit stuck in her throat. What happened? Was her wealth exposed? Could it be that she was the one treating us today? It wasn't that she couldn't afford it, but it was more cost-effective to support her brother. Soon, Chí Miǎo Miǎo realized something was wrong. Their eyes didn't seem like they were looking at the father who was paying the bill, but more like they were looking at the wrong person who missed out on the rich man. There was a bit of regret in the sympathy, and there was envy in the regret. In short, that look made the fruit in her throat feel uncomfortable. Chí Miǎo Miǎo ate another piece of fruit to smooth over her mood. A girl who had a good relationship with her during school came over and whispered, "The organizer of this party is Fu Simon." "Who?" "Your ex-boyfriend." Chapter 23. There is someone below. Chí Miǎo Miǎo doesn't want to face her ex-husband for the time being, nor does she want to face him with her classmates who are familiar with their relationship and have created memories together with her. Before she could find an excuse to leave, her father, who was treating them tonight, made his final appearance. The moment Fu Simon appeared, everyone's eyes turned to him. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was the only one in his eyes. The two of them stared at each other from a distance and turned away at the same time. Fu Simon didn't want to put pressure on her, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't want to have anything to do with her ex-husband. If she had known that the protagonist showing off wealth today was her ex-husband, she would rather eat the pig brains stewed by her aunt at home than come to a luxurious banquet. Fortunately, Fu Simon didn't want to show off his wealth, so after a simple opening, he started serving the food. Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned a deaf ear to what was happening outside the window and was only focused on eating the rabbit meat in front of her. Unfortunately, the table was spinning too fast and she could only eat one bite at a time. As she was eating, the automatic rotation seemed to break down, and the plate of rabbit meat in front of her remained motionless until Chí Miǎo Miǎo put down her chopsticks in satisfaction, and the table resumed rotating. Fu Simon silently withdrew his fingers that were stuck under the table, keeping his achievements to himself. He had originally wanted to cook the rabbits he caught in the forest for Chí Miǎo Miǎo to eat and to capture her stomach at the same time, but unfortunately, they were all ruined by Fang Sini and the others in the end. I propose that we all raise a toast to President Fu to thank him for providing the opportunity for us to get together. The former squad leader, now a newcomer in the workplace, raised his glass and started to make a noise. The students stood up one after another, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo also picked up his own coke in order to fit in. I did it, everyone can do as they please. The squad leader drank it all in one gulp. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked around and saw that everyone had finished their drink. She casually took a sip of coke and sat down first. At this moment, the only two people sitting in the room were particularly conspicuous. In addition, because of their past relationship history, the people present looked at them as if they were looking at a big green-skinned watermelon, the kind that was always ripe. Fu Simon was also looking at Chí Miǎo Miǎo. He was wondering if she was full and whether she wanted another serving of spicy rabbit meat. Although it was not even 1/3 of the quality of his own, it was barely good enough for Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Monitor, hey, Chí Miǎo Miǎo used to be quite lively, why is she so quiet now? I read the news a few days ago. Chí Miǎo Miǎo is now the wife of a wealthy family. Her status is different, so it's normal that she can't get along with us. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked over when she heard the voice. Why was this lady, who spoke with sarcasm and innuendo, still holding a grudge when she confessed her love to Fu Simon and was rejected? That's right. Miǎo Miǎo, if you have any difficulties in life, you can tell us. If all else fails, you can ask Mr. Fu for help. We can work together to find a solution. There is no need for you to marry an old man. Now that the old man of the Pei family has passed away, doesn't that mean Chí Miǎo Miǎo has become a widow? There were more and more voices of discussion, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes were blank. The world isolates me, and I let it ridicule me tilde. I just keep my silence, understand what is good and what is bad, and they are all gone tilde. With a bang, Fu Simon angrily slammed the table, interrupting everyone's ridicule and also interrupting Chí Miǎo Miǎo's singing in her heart. She turned off the player in her head and looked over with everyone else, only to see Fu Simon with a dark face, obviously furious. The squad leader put down his wine glass awkwardly and stopped talking. As a newcomer, he immediately realized that President Fu still had feelings for Chí Miǎo Miǎo and that he was flattering the wrong person. Everyone is wrong. Look. Fu Simon doesn't want to listen anymore. Before Fu Simon could start talking, Chí Miǎo Miǎo took the initiative to speak. I have a few points to correct. It is true that I married into the Pei family and became a widow, but I really didn't have any financial difficulties. That who? Didn't you read the report? Did you see that big castle? It's very expensive. You can't afford it. Not only do I have people above me, I also have people below me. I am now practicing with the master, mainly connecting with the business of the underworld and communicating with the deceased ancestors. If you have any troubles in this regard, you can come to me. I will give you a 9.9% discount. She gives herself an identity when she goes out. The old man of the Pei family is her man down there, so how can she not be considered a relative? The room was silent. Everyone was silent. Fu Simon raised the corner of his mouth and watched Chí Miǎo Miǎo making a fuss in a good mood. The squad leader looked around and took the initiative to speak. Stop joking. How come we don't know there's someone under you? Talking about this, Chí Miǎo Miǎo became more energetic. It's not too late to know now. Is there anyone you want to meet, squad leader? How is your grandmother? I'll take the trouble to invite her up to chat with you. The squad leader was still laughing, he didn't believe it. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, it's your loss if you don't believe me. I just invited Mr. Pei to a family gathering a few days ago. If you don't believe me, your family is doomed to be unhappy. Not inviting grandma to a family gathering is like having a barbecue without drinking beer, it lacks soul. Chí Miǎo Miǎo continued to export underworld culture, and everyone was frightened late at night. They could no longer attend the party and quickly dispersed and left downstairs. Then came the second round of showing off wealth competition, comparing cars to see whose car was new and expensive. This round has nothing to do with Chí Miǎo Miǎo. The shared tram she parked at the door was swept away by someone, and she was using her mobile phone to search for nearby shared tram parking spots. At this moment, the huge luxury car that crushed the entire venue stopped in front of her. Get in the car, I'll take you there. The car window was lowered, revealing Fu Simon's perfect profile. As expected of a high-end hotel, the nightlights outside the door had a beautifying effect. The already cool and handsome man became even more attractive in the night. Unfortunately, she has undergone a gorgeous transformation and is no longer the superficial Chí Miǎo Miǎo. In her eyes, beauty is nothing but loose sand. Without the support of money, it is destined not to last long. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, come up. Here it comes. Chí Miǎo Miǎo climbed up quickly, ignored the passenger seat and sat in the back seat, enjoying the luxury car's farewell and breaking off her ex-husband's olive branch of reconciliation. The weather is cold, and the wind from the shared tram hurts my face and eyes. In order to protect my beauty, I have to compromise with my ex-husband. The luxury car whizzed away, and the students who stayed behind opened their mouths in surprise, better absorbing the exhaust gas from the luxury car. I didn't expect Chí Miǎo Miǎo to be so powerful. Not only is the Pei family on the list, but even Fu Simon is firmly in her hands. Some talents can't be learned. Men come to us just by beckoning. We are just a part of their cosplay. Fu Simon drove very steadily, but after another bicycle passed him, Chí Miǎo Miǎo finally couldn't sit still anymore. Fu Simon, do you dare to drive faster? Are you afraid of crushing ants? Even snails crawl faster than you. Fu Simon increased the speed from 5 to 10 per hour. He just wanted to stay with her a little longer. What was wrong with him? Chí Miǎo Miǎo, let's get back together. Thank you for the invitation. I won't fall in love again. She has tasted the bitterness of love, and her wallet can't afford the spending for now. Give her some time and let her save some money. Fu Simon slowed down the car again. I'll give you time, I'll wait. Chí Miǎo Miǎo slowly looked towards the driver's seat. No, her ex-husband is so rich, but he still wants her meager little treasury. Is that appropriate? Chapter 24, Light in the Eyes. In order to protect the small treasury, Chí Miǎo Miǎo kept silent until she reached the door of Pei's house, for fear of revealing the money. The car stopped and Fu Simon turned around to look at Chí Miǎo Miǎo with a complicated look in his eyes. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's heart skipped a beat, and she pulled up the corners of her mouth and smiled. Thank you for sending me. It's too late, so I won't invite you in. Would it be convenient for me to go home and have a glass of water? Fu Simon got out of the car in a second and stood outside to ask. What do you think? Chí Miǎo Miǎo narrowed her eyes and smiled fakely. Fang Bufang's people had already come down, so she could only pray that no one was home. Perhaps the master was used to going to bed early and did not hear Chí Miǎo Miǎo's prayer. Chí Miǎo Miǎo and Fu Simon walked in one after another and just happened to meet 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of eyes in the living room. In addition to Uncle Huang and Auntie, Pei Yi and Pei Che were also there. Their whole family was together, gathering on a beautiful night. Hey! You didn't even close the door when you came back. How did you bring your tail in? Pei Che's casual sitting posture turned into a battle preparation state in a second, staring at Fu Simon with unfriendly eyes. He didn't need a reason, he just didn't like this man. Fu Simon took me back. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat down. Auntie, please pour a glass of water. She asked Fu Simon to drink it and leave quickly. Pei Yi closed his phone and nodded. Why is Mr. Fu with Chí Miǎo Miǎo? It's the middle of the night and it's not appropriate for a man and a woman to be together alone. Really? I think it's quite appropriate. Fu Simon sat down next to Chí Miǎo Miǎo, looked at the two people opposite him and said, strictly speaking, we are both single, the man is unmarried and the woman is widowed, which is the most suitable? Pei Che, who are you suitable for? Chí Miǎo Miǎo doesn't have a boyfriend and doesn't plan to have one. Go with whoever you want, don't think about my family. I just want to be with Chí Miǎo Miǎo, and only with Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Fu Simon did not hide his feelings. Vulgar. Chí Miǎo Miǎo could no longer bear it. After all, one of you is a top star and the other is a CEO, can you please stop messing around? If she didn't go for the whole non-mainstream hairstyle, she wouldn't be worthy of their words. Pei Che grinned, did you hear that? Chí Miǎo Miǎo said you were vulgar. Fu Simon shut up obediently and made a self-criticism while holding the water cup. Pei Che felt Chí Miǎo Miǎo's gaze and got angry. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, why are you looking at me? Didn't you hear that Fu Simon was plotting something bad to you? I only see you being aggressive. You are a guest here, so you should be polite. Just, be polite to me. Fu Simon's smile fell into Pei Che's eyes, as if he saw a cup of hot green tea. Fu was such a bitch, was Chí Miǎo Miǎo blind? He couldn't even see that. Mr. Fu, it's too late and you've already had your tea. The Pei family won't keep you here. Seeing Pei Che defeated, Pei Yi took the initiative to speak, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo also cooperated by looking over, and made a fatal move. It would be impolite for Fu Simon to sit down again, so he put down his cup and stood up, looking back at Chí Miǎo Miǎo every few steps. His eyes were lingering and sticky, which made people feel uncomfortable. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sighed softly and stood up to see him off. Outside the French window, a handsome man and a beautiful woman were standing in front of the car and talking. Pei Che put his ear against the glass, trying to hear a word. Pei Yi stared at the night outside the window, not knowing what he was thinking. Auntie, this gentleman and his wife are a perfect match. Mr. Huang, how do you say that? When he looked at his wife, there was light in his eyes. There is light in the eyes of the blind. The aunt looked at Uncle Huang with disdain, turned around and took away the guest's used water cup, saying that the old man didn't understand love. Pei Yi raised his eyes and looked at the two people outside with a serious gaze. His dark eyes made it impossible to tell what he was thinking. Who installed the broken glass? I can't hear a word. Pei Che gave up eavesdropping and stared at the two people outside with his hands on his waist. Why do you have so much to say? Why don't you leave? Fu Simon was finally sent away, and Pei Che was the only one left in the living room. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, why aren't you asleep yet? Pei Che, I have something to talk to you about. Chí Miǎo Miǎo paused on his way up the stairs and suddenly had a bad feeling. It was never good when Sana came to see him. Sure enough, the next morning, Chí Miǎo Miǎo once again arrived at the familiar school gate. This time she was dressed up, with fiery red lips, black sunglasses, a small bag, a long skirt and high heels. Every step she took was graceful, giving people the aura of the queen's return. Chí Miǎo Miǎo dressed up like this not for anyone to see, but purely to make herself more suitable for the role of a stepmother. Because Pei Che was called as a parent, she, as the only elder in the Pei family, was forced to come to the school to receive a lecture. When she was a child, she was afraid of being called to school as a parent. Now that she has graduated, she is even more afraid. In order to make herself appear more impressive, Chí Miǎo Miǎo had a short meeting with Aunt Huang and Uncle Huang. In the end, this set of equipment was passed unanimously. When it comes to being called as a parent, she is 99% responsible. Because Pei Che, as a public figure, beat people in school, which had a very bad influence on the students. In addition to verbal criticism, parents need to cooperate with the education. Then, Chí Miǎo Miǎo came to receive education. I followed the address to find the office, knocked on the door and heard a pleasant male voice from inside. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes lit up. The moment she pushed the door open, she felt as if the voice sounded familiar, as if she had heard it somewhere before. When she saw the teacher's face, wow, the person looked even more familiar. She turned around suddenly, closed the door and left in one go. Chí Miǎo Miǎo has never done anything bad in her life. If she had to pick out one thing, the biggest victim would be the one in the video, one of her only two ex-boyfriends. When Fu Simon lost contact with her for no reason and her parents got into trouble, her academic performance plummeted and she almost had no chance of going to university. Fortunately, the teacher was serious and responsible. After talking to her, he made her realize the importance of being educated. Then Chí Miǎo Miǎo set her sights on the top student in the grade and begged him to help her with review. Later, as he studied harder, he began to covet beautiful women and chased them. With the double blessing of being a top student and having love, Chí Miǎo Miǎo's grades improved by leaps and bounds and he was successfully admitted to his ideal university. Then she broke up with her academically gifted boyfriend because she didn't like long-distance relationships. But now, the teacher inside turned out to be her boyfriend, a top student. She despised herself for the way he threw her away after using her, and she was too ashamed to face him again. Chí Miǎo Miǎo adjusted her sunglasses on her face, and was glad that her look today was so surprising that most people would not recognize her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo? A familiar male voice appeared behind him, and Lu Mingrui chased after him. Chí Miǎo Miǎo stood stiffly where she was. How could she have forgotten that he was a top student who could see the essence through phenomena, and an ordinary person who could recognize her? Har har, what a coincidence. Lu Mingrui smiled gently. Unfortunately, you are here for Pei Che, right? Come in first. The office door was open, and warm light shone in. Even the air was filled with the scent of books. In Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes, it was scarier than a haunted house, and she didn't want to go in. Lu Mingrui, please sit down. Chí Miǎo Miǎo sat down obediently. Would you like some water? Chí Miǎo Miǎo shook his head like a rattle. Lu Mingrui chuckled and sat down opposite her. The bookish man looked at her with gentle and doting eyes. Chapter 25, Sending Warmth. Haven't seen you for a long time. Chí Miǎo Miǎo raised her head, slowly took off her sunglasses, and smiled shyly. Long time no see. Since she was young, she has been in awe of people who are good at studying. In addition, she feels guilty, so she is as obedient as a quail in front of Lu Mingrui. Lu Mingrui asked her to add his contact information, and she added it decisively. He said that the matter with Pei Che was over, and he should not do it again next time. Chí Miǎo Miǎo nodded gratefully. Lu Mingrui suggested that they eat together later, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo agreed without thinking, then looked up in surprise. Eat, eat. Yes, eat. Then Lu Mingrui took her to the school cafeteria and got her food at the small window reserved for teachers. These are the foods you used to love to eat. I wonder if your taste has changed now. When you were in school, you loved to go to the teacher's window to look at the dishes. Now I'm a teacher, you can order whatever you want. The more Chí Miǎo Miǎo listened, the more guilty and self-blaming she felt. What a good man. It made her want to travel back in time and slap her past self in the face for not cherishing him and letting such a good man fall into the single market. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, thank you for treating me to dinner. Are you doing well now? Lu Mingrui, no, I've been thinking about you since we broke up. Chí Miǎo Miǎo stretched out her chopsticks and then retracted them, not daring to eat. Lu Mingrui smiled gently. You said you don't like long-distance relationships, so I worked hard to improve myself, and now I'm finally back. Miao Miao, we don't need to be in different places anymore. Lu Mingrui's smile grew bigger and bigger, and Chí Miǎo Miǎo was successfully scared away. It was so horrible. She had said that being called to the police station's office was bound to be bad news. Now, she almost got herself into trouble. Chí Miǎo Miǎo returned home and drank 3 cups of water to calm herself down. Aunt Wang came over and asked what the school said. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, the process was a bit tortuous, and the result was very shocking. Generally speaking, the school will not pursue the matter. Uncle Huang and Auntie were relieved. Pei Che was a child they had watched grow up. After hearing that he would not be punished, they went about their business and had no time to listen to the twists and turns of the story. After Chí Miǎo Miǎo pondered the matter for a while, he told himself a fortune and it was bad luck, extremely unlucky. No. She had to go out and get out of the spotlight. Where to go was a problem. She thought about it for a long time and finally decided to go and provide warmth to her second son who was living in a foreign country. A loving family. Stepmother at Pei Yu, please send me your address. I will go abroad to see you. Pei Yu? Pei Che, Chí Miǎo Miǎo, what are you going to do now? Is there no room for you in the country or what? Stepmother, your second brother is staying alone abroad. You brothers may not feel sorry for him, but I do. Pei Che. Pei Yi, take good care of her. Pei Yu, okay. After closing the group chat, Chí Miǎo Miǎo decisively booked a flight ticket after getting the address. Without further ado, she set off tonight. The master was right. This year was a disaster year. It was her great catastrophe. All her enemies had gathered together. It must be because the old man died too early, and the catastrophe of life and death could not be suppressed, which led to the bad peach blossom of Lu Xian. Before boarding the plane, Chí Miǎo Miǎo was still thinking about the master's whereabouts. After asking Pei Yi to help find him, he left in a hurry as if he was avoiding his debts. Under the same blue sky, we share the same earth. Pei Yu was waiting quietly at the airport entrance. His eyes were gentle behind his frameless glasses, his suit was well-fitting and meticulous, he was so exquisite that he seemed like the embodiment of a handsome man in a suit in a novel. The ladies passing by all cast astonished glances at him, and some beauties even slowed down their pace, hoping to attract Pei Yu's attention. At this time, an eye-catching handsome guy walked over. The beautiful woman stopped where she was in surprise, watching Pei Yu pass by her and walk straight towards someone. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked out with a suitcase, sleepy-eyed. She looked dazed and obviously not awake yet. When she almost bumped into someone again, a slender figure appeared in time and used his body to block her head attack. Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt pain, rubbed his forehead and looked up. The man looked familiar. Who was this? Pei Yu, if you dare to say you don't know me, I will send you to wander the streets right now. Second brother, you have such a cruel heart. Who else could have said this familiar cold tone except the second son of the Pei family? Chí Miǎo Miǎo's sleepiness was scared away and she rubbed her red forehead with her fingers. Romance novels are true, it really hurts when the protagonist's chest is hit. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, call me Pei Yu. Pei Yu made a warning sound through his teeth. It was his fault that he had laughed at Sanner so loudly before. Second was definitely the ugliest word in the world. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't want to be a homeless person, so she had to succumb to the tyranny of the second brother and followed him listlessly, passing a group of jaw-dropping beauties and got into Pei Yu's car. It was just dark when I boarded the plane, and it was just dark when I got off the plane. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked out the window curiously, and everything she saw was interesting. Pei Yu looked through the rearview mirror and saw his little stepmother's face pressed against the glass, just like a village kid going to the city for the first time. She was almost asking him what was outside. Pei Yu, what is that iron ball? Is it a glowing light ball? Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes are sparkling. No wonder netizens say that the world is so big and they want to go see it. It is time to go and see it. Only after seeing it will you know that the lantern balls in China are still the biggest and most beautiful. Pei Yu, almost. I walked all the way to Pei Yu's home abroad, which was a small detached villa, much smaller than Pei's house. I thought the decoration would be very warm, but Chí Miǎo Miǎo fell silent after entering. Second brother, are you out of money? Mom still has 500,000 yuan from the eldest brother. Can we decorate the model room? To use a popular term nowadays, Pei Yu's house is definitely asexual. Grey is the main color, which is depressing and dull. Chí Miǎo Miǎo is afraid that she will suffer from endocrine disorders if she lives there for too long, it is too cold. You'd better keep it for yourself, in case you run into the next jock who doesn't have the money to support him. Pei Yu changed his shoes and walked in, declining her kindness. Chí Miǎo Miǎo smiled awkwardly, her face felt hot when her son mentioned her dark history. After a while, Chí Miǎo Miǎo squatted in front of the fireplace to study whether the burning wood inside was real or fake. Pei Yu stood not far away, with his arms folded across his chest, looking at his little stepmother. Tell me, what do you want to do here? I miss you, and I am here to warm you with my infinite love. I'm not Pei Che. I don't have the patience to play with you. If you have something to say, just say it. If not, I'll send you back home. No, no, no. Chí Miǎo Miǎo raised a flattering smile. She couldn't return to China. There were wolves in front of her and tigers behind her. She didn't know how to face Lu Mingrui, and she couldn't withstand Fu Simon's straight balls. She is devoted to Taoism, so how could she be trapped by love between men and women? Pei Yu, so, Mr. Sanner is your ex-boyfriend, and you were scared away. I went abroad to relax. I wasn't scared away. Chí Miǎo Miǎo added politely. TSK, I didn't realize, little stepmother, that you have quite a rich love history, with ex-boyfriends all over the place. Not really, just two. Chí Miǎo Miǎo raised her finger and made a V sign. As for Lu Jian, he was automatically ignored. He was at most an ellipsis in the love history and did not deserve to have a name. Pei Yu nodded. Okay, my secretary just asked for leave, you can go to the company with me tomorrow. Me? Do I deserve it? Little stepmother is also a member of the Pei family. No one is more worthy than you. Chapter 26 St. Mary's Hospital. If Pei Yi's thoughts are hard to figure out, then Pei Che is a fool who only cares about his face. The second son of the Pei family is definitely a sinister villain with a deep mind. Chí Miǎo Miǎo had suffered from jet lag all night long, and had just fallen into a half-sleep at daybreak when there was a loud knock on her door. It was Pei Yu who urged her to get up and go to work. When you are under someone's roof, you have to bow your head. Chí Miǎo Miǎo scratched her frizzy hair, quickly washed up and went downstairs. Pei Yu was already dressed neatly and sitting at the dining table drinking black coffee. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked around the kitchen but didn't see her breakfast. Pei Yu, would you like some coffee? Chí Miǎo Miǎo declined politely. She didn't have a Western stomach and couldn't digest the porridge that Westerners ate. She preferred to drink soy milk and eat fried dough sticks. What time do you start work? Enough for your breakfast. Chí Miǎo Miǎo felt relieved and prepared to show her skills so that her second son, who was living in a foreign country, could have a bowl of porridge from his hometown. Unfortunately, the ingredients in the refrigerator were limited. There were only bread, milk, and eggs. There was not a single vegetable leaf to be seen, let alone top-quality ingredients such as rice and millet. Take me to the supermarket after get off work. Only top-quality ingredients can make top-quality dishes. Now I can only fill my stomach with fried eggs and milk. Pei Yu had no objection. He felt happy and relaxed when someone else was cooking for him. Foreign companies emphasize efficiency, so Chí Miǎo Miǎo's appearance did not attract much attention. She followed Pei Yu like a follower, and found everything new to her. In the office, Pei Yu handed over a document. Take a look, can you understand it? Chí Miǎo Miǎo opened it and took a look, then closed it. I don't understand. Pei Yu was silent for a few seconds, then handed over a tablet. Go play on the sofa. Chí Miǎo Miǎo would quickly take the tablet and sit on the sofa to watch TV series. During this time, staff members came in and out and they would look at Chí Miǎo Miǎo a few times before leaving, making her look as strange as a panda. Then, Chí Miǎo Miǎo put a sign not far from him, see the charges. Soon, a strange phenomenon appeared in the company. Everyone who walked out of the boss's office had a smile on their face as if they had won the lottery. People who usually don't dare to contact the boss now want to go in and take a look. Behind the desk, Pei Yu, who was silently observing her, turned off his phone. Pei Yu said to keep an eye on her and keep it for future use. He only saw that she was not smart, but he really didn't find any use for her. On the first day of going abroad to avoid emotional debt, Chí Miǎo Miǎo spent the day in boredom and doing chores. The next day she refused to do it anymore. She wanted to go out and have fun, to feel the cultural atmosphere of foreign countries, to see the scenery and go shopping, and to experience the ghost culture of foreign countries. Chí Miǎo Miǎo deliberately got up early, ate a stomach-warming breakfast, left a portion for Pei Yu to keep warm, and then quietly slipped out the door. The second child was too sinister for her to control, so the best plan was to get away with it. She searched online and found out that the nearest abandoned hospital to her was haunted. Her foreign friends who had been there were terrified and wanted to go home to find their mothers and assure God that there were really ghosts inside. Chí Miǎo Miǎo immediately became interested as her major was very relevant to her. Since she couldn't see ghosts in China, it would be nice to see what foreign ghosts looked like. She could just treat it as an overseas exchange. After taking a taxi to the destination, Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at the toll collector at the hospital entrance in silence. What was going on? He had to pay before going in to catch ghosts. This is still better in China. You can enter haunted places freely, and the ghosts inside are very friendly and hospitable. You can even take away some specialties from the ghost world before leaving. This is not so good abroad. After paying the extremely expensive ticket, Chí Miǎo Miǎo touched the soul-calling flag around his neck. He came in a hurry and forgot to bring any large magical instruments with him. He was careless. At the same time, Pei Yu, who discovered that his stepmother had disappeared, opened the location and found St. Mary's Hospital, one of the most popular haunted house attractions in the area. St. Mary's Hospital is a 5-story circular building that looks like a coliseum from the outside and has a complex terrain inside, like a large maze. Lost people with poor sense of direction are more likely to fall into fear and be immersed in the terror of being toyed with by the dead. Pei Yu thought of his stepmother's hobby and was no longer anxious. He drank the porridge gracefully. The crispy beef pie was delicious, completely different from the fish that was mailed last time, and both suited his taste. Pei Yu suddenly thought of something, took out his mobile phone to take a photo, sent it to the group that did not include his stepmother, then turned off his phone and continued eating. True showing off never needs words to prove it. The two brothers who were just about to go to bed at home received the news at the same time. Pei Che was about to start scolding when he saw that the second brother was kicked out of the group by the eldest brother. He immediately fell asleep with satisfaction. Chí Miǎo Miǎo, unaware that she had entered a tourist attraction by mistake, thought she was a lone hero and entered the hospital gate cautiously. She looked around and found everything suspicious. She took out a compass and talismans from her bag and looked around. She wondered if domestic talismans could suppress foreign ghosts. This was a good opportunity to experiment. Suddenly, a flowerpot fell from the sky and hit Chí Miǎo Miǎo right in front of her. Hissed Hilda. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took a breath of cold air and looked up suddenly. She saw a figure flash by on the second floor. She saw that the person was wearing a hospital gown. There is a ghost. There really is a ghost. Don't run. Chí Miǎo Miǎo suddenly became excited and ran towards the stairs. She was finally going to see a ghost. The magic she had learned for so many years was finally going to come in handy. She had decided what souvenirs to bring back from China, so she decided to bring ghosts, one for each person. The stairwell had a strong echo, and the sound of footsteps meandered up the stairs. As Chí Miǎo Miǎo ran, she realized something was wrong. The stairs were very long, and the footsteps were not right either. She had clearly stopped, but the footsteps were still there, following her like a shadow, right behind her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around suddenly and saw nothing in the empty stairwell. The compass in her hand kept spinning. A light flashed in her eyes. She came to her senses and continued to run upwards. The footsteps appeared again, getting closer and closer, until they coincided with her footsteps. Snap, the talisman is stuck behind you. Just when Chí Miǎo Miǎo thought she had caught the ghost, she looked back and saw nothing. The talisman fell quietly to the ground. No. Impossible. She picked up the talisman and looked at it from top to bottom. Could it be that it was ineffective against foreign ghosts? If she had known earlier, she should have watched more foreign ghost movies and learned how foreign Taoist priests court ghosts. Above her head, at an angle that Chí Miǎo Miǎo couldn't notice, the camera was aimed at her, and the staff behind the scenes controlled the speakers to produce terrifying sound effects. Jason, are there many customers today? 3 of them, plus the Oriental beauty who just came in. The other 2 are well-known adventure anchors, and they are now scared to the point of peeing their pants. Oh? Is the little beauty frightened and crying? No, she seems to know Oriental Kung Fu and has very quick reactions. While the staff were watching the surveillance, Chí Miǎo Miǎo had already reached the second floor. After looking around the terrain, she quickly ran in the direction where the figure appeared. A foreign specialty, here she comes. Gently pushing open the door of the ward, the creaking sound of the old iron sheet added a bit of weirdness. Chí Miǎo Miǎo stepped in and looked at the plain white ward. A single bed, a cabinet, bandages scattered on the bed, bloody gauze and scissors on a tray, an open window with white curtains blowing up, and the sound of the wind whimpering like the sobbing of a ghost. Chapter 27 Haunted House. The room was clean and there was no place for Tibetans. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked at the bloodstains on the bed and thought to herself that it was no wonder the hospital went bankrupt. They couldn't even afford a cleaning lady. At least they should clean the ward. The ward is set up like a haunted house, and it can scare people into becoming sick even if they are not sick. Looking around, there was nothing in the room. Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked out and prepared to look in the next ward. She wiped her fingers on the railing and it was clean without any dust. This reflects cultural differences. People in China like old houses with all kinds of dust and cobwebs, while people abroad prefer cleanliness. It's better to be cleaner. Wait until she catches more ghosts from abroad and sends them back to China, and puts one in each haunted spot to keep it clean for us. He. A terrifying laugh was heard, and when Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked up, she was met with a terrifying smiling face, a clown wearing a hospital gown, with flamboyant green hair, and blood-red blood on his face dripping down the gown. The moment their eyes met, they were both stunned. The clown was waiting for Chí Miǎo Miǎo to scream. It would be best if he could scare people to tears. He liked to hear customers cry, it gave him a sense of accomplishment. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was stunned for 2 seconds, then suddenly moved, ran quickly to the clown, and with a snap, the talisman was stuck on his forehead. Hey, I caught you. Chí Miǎo Miǎo grinned, admiring her trophy with satisfaction, and poked her finger on the clown's hospital gown. Is there a physical body? From now on you will be cleaner number 1. Chí Miǎo Miǎo became more motivated. She decided to keep this here for now and take it with her when she left. She looked at other wards with her eyes shining and she was ready to do a great job. The clown stood there at a loss. It was the first time he had encountered such a situation in all his long working life. The voice of the venue controller came from the headphones, asking him to cooperate with the customers. They were more curious about what the Oriental girl would do next. Chí Miǎo Miǎo searched the second floor but found nothing, so she went up the stairs to the third floor. It was dirty, bloody, and there were shocking graffiti, bloodstains dragging on the ground, and startled crows. She slowly lowered her head, and the blood on the ground spread to her feet, quickly staining her shoes. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took 2 steps back and moved away. In this respect, he is not as good as the domestic ghosts. He has no manners. She walked around the bloodstain and was about to move forward when she saw all the ward doors on the third floor open at the same time. A demon appeared in the air and whispered. Chí Miǎo Miǎo frowned because she didn't understand. Hey! Say it again, I'll open the translation software. The foreign ghost seemed not to understand Chinese and kept silent. Chí Miǎo Miǎo put away her phone in disappointment and continued to move forward. She inadvertently turned her head to look at a ward and happened to meet a pair of blue eyes. The ghost doll was grey and white all over, with sparkling blue eyes. Tears of blood were flowing from its eyes, and it was giggling at her. Little devil! Chí Miǎo Miǎo walked over quickly and found the stool was empty. She was clearly staring at it the whole time without blinking, so how could it disappear? She searched the room in disbelief but found nothing. Then she heard some noise outside, someone talking. Chí Miǎo Miǎo squatted there without moving, and when someone approached little by little, she appeared silently at the window. There were 2 men outside, holding up their phones as if they were broadcasting a live broadcast. Then they pointed the camera at her. Chí Miǎo Miǎo waved and smiled. She looked for the camera calmly, while the 2 people outside were terrified. They hugged each other and jumped around screaming. Oh my god, his professionalism is really great. Even when he was so scared, the camera didn't even shake. It's so steady. Confirmed, the 2 outside are alive. Chí Miǎo Miǎo had no interest in living people and thought they were haunted house explorers. She nodded politely and prepared to go somewhere else. Since these 2 could walk around alive, it seemed that there were no evil ghosts here that could harm people. On the stairwell leading to the 4th floor, the sound of footsteps following behind her was like a shadow. Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around and saw that it was the 2 cowards with thick beards, who were following her, huddling together for warmth. Hey, why are you following me? Chí Miǎo Miǎo lay on the railing and looked down, leaning leisurely on the railing, chewing a big bubble gum in her mouth, feeling as leisurely as if she was at home. Ward fans can't know you. Speak human language. Your fans, say you're dead. Someone is dead, am I? Chí Miǎo Miǎo understood that there were netizens in their live broadcast room who knew her. After all, she had been on TV and had some charm, so it was normal for netizens to recognize her. Okay, I get it, back off. Chí Miǎo Miǎo left after she finished speaking. She had paid to catch ghosts and didn't want to bring 2 potential rivals with her. What if they also found out that the ghosts here were cleaning for free and competed with her for the money? Climb up, the branch said it's safe to follow Ning. Huh? Fans say it's safe to follow her? His fans are very discerning. As the saying goes, fans follow the creator, so they should be good too, right? Follow me. Chí Miǎo Miǎo recruited 2 younger brothers. At the pay branch, Pei looked at the uninvited guest in front of him and pushed his glasses. She doesn't see guests. Fu Simin looked around the office and said in no hurry, she doesn't need to come to see me, I can go see her. Pei raised his head and said, Boss Fu is chasing after the Pei family. If this gets out, I'm afraid the directors of Fu's company won't sit idly by. It's none of my business. 60% of Fu's shares are in his hands. Those who are just waiting to get paid can only flatter him and are not qualified to question him. Pei raised his eyebrows. He liked Fu Simon's outspoken personality, but he didn't like someone being arrogant towards him. What do the Pei family have to do with you? Fu Simon chuckled, Mr. Pei, do you like staying abroad? It's almost like exile. What if I can help you return to China and compete with Pei Yi? Boss Fu underestimates me. The Pei family's assets can only be divided equally, there is no competition. Oh? It's not bad to divide you equally among the overseas subsidiaries. Pei looked at him solemnly, and Fu Simon waited calmly. In the abandoned hospital, the only 3 living people are still exploring passionately. Chí Miǎo Miǎo took the lead. 2 foreign friends who were on the expedition pointed their cameras at her. His fans called their friends, and the popularity of the live broadcast room had already become a hot topic on the software. They firmly believed that Chí Miǎo Miǎo had a very powerful identity. The frequency of the devil's chanting became higher and higher, and the two people on the live broadcast were trembling. Chí Miǎo Miǎo simply ignored the background music, his eyes focused, and the moment the black shadow appeared again, he suddenly chased after it. This time, she must catch it. Then she grabbed the black cloak. There was a huge pulling force there. Chí Miǎo Miǎo held on tightly and refused to let go. Due to the huge difference in strength, she was dragged away. Seeing this, the two younger brothers immediately helped, and then three of them were dragged away. Chí Miǎo Miǎo tried to see clearly whether it was a person or a ghost behind the cloak. She slowly stood up while being dragged, and used both hands to pull the cloak upwards. She wanted to climb up. Inside the live broadcast room, netizens saw a beautiful oriental girl climbing onto the cloak while being dragged rapidly, moving upwards little by little. When she was about to succeed, the cloak suddenly lost weight and fell from the sky. The cloak had reached the window at some point, and the three people dragging the cloak were pulled across the windowsill. Chí Miǎo Miǎo lost her balance and her eyes widened in horror. Chapter 28 Performance Art. It's over, this is really bad. The feeling of weightlessness in the air was terrible, as if her heart had stopped beating. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes widened. Would she die here? She doesn't want to be a cleaning lady, she is lazy, she wants to go back to her country and be a lazy person. Chí Miǎo Miǎo called out to Pei Yu in her heart, hoping that the second son of the Pei family could find her sooner and send her back to the country for a grand funeral. She still had some money in her card, and she hoped to exchange it all for gold ingots to burn for her. It is enough to burn a moderate amount of handsome men and servants in the big villa, not too much. She is afraid that there is no tour below and no one will treat her. The urn should be pink and inlaid with diamonds. She is afraid of the dark and loves crowds. It would be best if there is a skylight on the urn and a QR code for chatting is posted on the tombstone so that passers-by can scan the code and chat with her for a while. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was imagining life after death, and the foreign friends following him were screaming. They were fat and fell faster. There was a loud bang, but the scene of heads bursting into pieces did not appear. Instead, they fell on the life-saving air cushion and survived. Chí Miǎo Miǎo slowly calmed her heartbeat and lay there for a long time without moving. The live broadcast behind me was still going on. The dedicated foreigner was talking to the camera in a babble, with snot and tears running down his face, and he was obviously terrified. Chí Miǎo Miǎo slowly got up and observed the surrounding environment. She returned to the starting point, the hospital lobby. No, it was different. This was another hospital lobby, a place she had never been to. Chí Miǎo Miǎo looked back and saw the hospital gate. She ran over and tried to open it, but the gate didn't move at all and was sealed. To confirm her guess, she looked around, ran quickly up to the second floor, went straight to her destination, opened the door of a ward, and the white curtains on the window fluttered in the wind. A single bed, a cabinet, bandages scattered on the bed, bloody gauze and scissors in a tray. Exactly the same. Exactly the same location, even the size of the bloodstain is exactly the same. The light in Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes became brighter and brighter. She was confirmed that there were definitely evil ghosts here. No, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. In other countries, they are called undead spirits. There really are undead spirits. And they are undead spirits that can create illusions. From Chí Miǎo Miǎo's professional point of view, from the moment they fell from the building, they had already entered the illusion of the dead. There was only one way to get out, and that was grab it. The two men who regarded her as their life-saving straw followed her closely. When they heard that Chí Miǎo Miǎo was going to catch the undead, they were so scared that their beards stood up. Do you guys want to do the moonwalk? No need to throw it, and you don't even need to do the spacewalk. Chí Miǎo Miǎo patted his chest and assured, trust me, I'm a professional at catching ghosts. She was too confident and was able to calm their hearts very well. She looked at Chí Miǎo Miǎo as if she was looking at a savior, her eyes full of admiration. Walking out of the ward, Chí Miǎo Miǎo counted silently in her heart. Sure enough, the green-haired little ghost appeared again. She held the talisman in her hand and stuck it on it, instantly freezing the ghost in place. She clapped her hands. It's just catching ghosts. It's so easy. Cleaner number 2 can do it. Behind her, the international friends watching the live broadcast were shocked. The NPC was caught. She caught the NPC. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't wait for the admiring praise, and turned back in confusion. What happened? Was the foreigner scared silly? Not only did the foreigner remain silent, but the comments in the live broadcast room also remained silent for a moment, and then suddenly exploded. I don't know if I should say this or not, but the little stepmother seems to have mistaken the NPC in the haunted house for a real ghost. Looking at her proud expression, she must be waiting for praise. The NPCs at St. Mary's Hospital are very scary. They have received professional training and often scare people to tears. Few people can touch the corners of their clothes. Their Oriental Kung Fu is real. The case has been solved. The stepmother is not good at foreign language, so it is normal for her to mistake the artificial haunted house for a real one. After all, she is obsessed with catching ghosts. Lovely Oriental beauty, I like you, my contact number is 899, call me. What is the foreigner above talking about in his sleep? If you put your pillow higher when you sleep, you won't have such a beautiful dream. Do you know the identity and worth of the stepmother? Just letting a son and an ex-boyfriend out will be out of your reach. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was unhappy because she didn't receive cheers and applause, nor did she hear the praise she wanted to hear. Forget it, it's normal that foreigners are not good at speaking Chinese. Their vocabulary is not enough to support their boasting. What others consider a horror game becomes a large-scale immersive battle ghost hunting action in Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes. After searching the second floor, no suspicious targets were found. Walking towards the third floor, she looked up and saw the fourth floor where the man in black appeared, and the fifth floor which she had never set foot on. Where was the secret hidden? Chí Miǎo Miǎo's eyes are sharp, and she transforms into Chí Holmes Miǎo Miǎo. The great undead will definitely be defeated by her. Then, she squatted at the place where the scary doll appeared, and successfully used both hands to catch the blue-eyed naked doll that wanted to run away the moment the doll appeared. Maybe she was too strong, or maybe she acted too quickly. The moment the staff controlling the props backstage pressed the switch, the naked doll disappeared, but the blue-eyed head remained. Aha, the undead! Chí Miǎo Miǎo turned around and hushed, and the foreigners hugged each other and shut up, staring at the head in her hands in horror. Chí Miǎo Miǎo checked it over and over again. It was fake and quite realistic. She poked the blue eyes and red paint flowed out, silently accusing her of cruelty. She lowered her head in disappointment and pulled the curtain to cover it. What a sin! She dismembered such a nice baby. Let's go to the fourth floor. Reliving the death scene, on the fourth floor, where the man in the black cloak appeared, the foreigners standing on the third floor were afraid to go up any further. Chí Miǎo Miǎo thought for a moment, then took out 2 talismans from his pocket and handed them over. This is for safety, take it and find a safe place to stay, I'll be back soon. She just left like that without looking back, without taking away the selfie stick or the netizens in the live broadcast room. Chí Miǎo Miǎo rushed to the fourth floor in a hurry. After walking around, she didn't see any man in black. Then she went to the fifth floor. The scene in front of her surprised her. There were no wards, no people, only countless hospital gowns hanging out to dry, dripping with water. It was clearly a very strange scene, but Chí Miǎo Miǎo was extremely disappointed. Where was the ghost? Where was the great undead? Suddenly there was a call on my phone, and the note was Jerry, the Jerry from Tom and Jerry. Chí Miǎo Miǎo answered the call, and Fu Simmons' voice came from the phone. Meow meow, I'm at the door of the haunted house. Do you want to come out or I want to go in? Haunted house? What haunted house? St. Mary's Hospital. I've heard of it but never been there. I'll go in and take a look. Wait. Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't have time to digest the knowledge points in her ex-husband's words, and hurriedly said, Don't come in, it's not worth the price of the ticket. Wait for me at the door, don't come in. After hanging up the phone, Chí Miǎo Miǎo quickly ran downstairs. She wanted to find the 2 foreigners. She really needed to clarify and explain her abnormal behavior just now. Role-playing? Immersive experience? Performance art? Yes, it's performance art. Chapter 29. What then? Performance art? The foreigners looked at each other, then shook their heads and waved their hands at the same time. No, it's not performance art, it's definitely the mysterious Oriental power. We know, the word for yogurt is low-key tilde. I'm not being low-key. Everything just now was acted out by me. Do you understand? It's fake. I'm just pretending. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was in tears. Why should she be low-key? She was just too high-profile, which was why she ran around abroad to embarrass herself. It was obvious that the foreigners didn't understand. There was clear stupidity in their eyes as they stared at her blankly. No, I can't stay abroad for even a minute. Anyway, in the eyes of foreigners, all Oriental people look the same. As long as she runs fast, no one will know that she is the one who is embarrassed. Goodbye, my friend, never see you again. Chí Miǎo Miǎo ran away after she finished speaking. Ever since she knew that St. Mary's Hospital was a haunted house, she saw deliberate human traces everywhere, and the cameras were so dense that there were more than grapes on an old grape rack. A staff member appeared and led Chí Miǎo Miǎo away. The foreigner didn't understand what Chí Miǎo Miǎo meant, but the fellow villagers in the live broadcast room understood it and laughed non-stop. Who told the secret? The little stepmother must have discovered that the hospital is a haunted house, har 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 har. A strong little stepmother. Oh my god, I laughed my ass off. It's amazing performance art. Her ghost-catching behavior is really artistic. Why didn't these two follow up just now? Who leaked the news? Chí Miǎo Miǎo didn't know about the discussions on the internet. She had only one thought in her mind: what she did in the haunted house must not be leaked. When Fu Simon saw Chí Miǎo Miǎo, she looked more serious than ever before. Return home. Now. Fu Simon received an unexpected surprise. It turned out that Miǎo Miǎo had feelings for him and wanted to go home with him without stopping. Women need to be coaxed, and going abroad is just a little interest to attract his attention. Chí Miǎo Miǎo's decision to return to China was too hasty. When Pei Yu received the letter, she had already boarded the plane back to China, which quickly made him suspect that his stepmother had been kidnapped by Fu Simon. Late at night, the car stopped outside the Pei family villa. Fu Simon was about to speak when he saw Chí Miǎo Miǎo running away. You little bastard. You're still shy. Fu Simon took Chí Miǎo Miǎo's reaction as that she hadn't figured out how to accept him. Okay, he would give her some time and wait patiently. Chí Miǎo Miǎo ran all the way back to her room. She had no idea what was going on in her ex-husband's mind. She only had one thought in mind now, which was how to pick up the face she had lost abroad. Hateful. This time she definitely suffered from her lack of education. If she had been a little better at foreign languages, she would definitely have been able to understand the horrifying introduction of the hospital. There is one more piece of dark history. Let us seal them in the box together. Whoever touches them will be punished. After sleeping until noon, Chí Miǎo Miǎo floated all the way to the restaurant, patting the empty table and shouting that she was hungry. The aunt brought the hot meal quickly. Uncle Huang came over and was very curious about his wife's condition. Uncle Huang, did the second young master abuse you? Did he not give you food to eat? The aunt exclaimed, oh my god, the second young master let his wife wander the streets. After Chí Miǎo Miǎo boasted about a bowl of rice, he took the time to reply, no, the second child is very filial. I couldn't bear to see you two being left behind as elderly people, so I came back to accompany you. Uncle Huang didn't believe it, but the aunt was so moved that she kept persuading Chí Miǎo Miǎo to eat more. Chí Miǎo Miǎo accidentally ate too much. When she was sitting on the sofa eating some fruit to digest the food, she heard the sound of brakes outside, followed by someone's howling. Chí Miǎo Miǎo. Did you go abroad to catch ghosts? I'm telling you, you're famous. You're more famous abroad than I am. Pei Che arrived before he even showed up. He rushed in, took the fruit plate, and looked at Chí Miǎo Miǎo excitedly. Pei Che ruthlessly exposed all her shameful deeds that she had kept secret to the public. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was furious and was about to use violence to discipline her unfilial and stupid son when a sophisticated and capable woman came in. Chí Miǎo Miǎo was immediately happy. Oh, Sana also came back with a tale. What tale? Pei Che forgot about his mockery of Fu Simon's words and looked at the strong woman who introduced him. My agent, Zhou, Sister Zhou. Zhou. Zhou, do you like to add Zhou to your milk tea? Chí Miǎo Miǎo was curious. Zhou raised her red lips and nodded after sitting down. Hello, Mrs. Pei, I don't drink milk tea. What nonsense are you talking about? Chí Miǎo Miǎo, tell me quickly, how did you mistake the haunted house for a haunted house and even put up talismans to catch ghosts? Har har, you're making me die of laughter. Chí Miǎo Miǎo fell on the sofa laughing. You are the one who makes me so filial. Chí Miǎo Miǎo couldn't laugh. She believed in not leaving grudges overnight, and to avenge grudges on the spot, and never use words instead of taking action, and resolutely not giving the enemy a chance to revive. The couch war is about to begin. Kai Miǎo Miǎo, you lunatic, I was wrong, stop it now. Blind, you dare to touch my hairstyle, Kai Miǎo Miǎo, you are done. Rebellious son. How dare you fight back? Zhou moved to the corner of the sofa to avoid being accidentally injured. The aunt brought tea and comforted her, you'll get used to it. 10 minutes later, the wealthy mother and son shook hands and made peace. One was dignified and the other handsome. They gave each other fruits in a friendly manner. The scene changed so quickly that Zhou, who was used to the entertainment industry, seemed to see the quintessence of Chinese culture changing its face. Tell me what you want to do when you get home. Kai Miǎo Miǎo drank tea elegantly. Pei Che, what are you talking about? Do I need a reason to go home and see my mother? Mom is old and has a taste for food, so remember to give her something spicy or sour. Instead of adding pearls to milk tea, add taro balls. Pei Che, stop, Sister Zhou wants to talk to you about something. That's it. She tried to play the mother-son love game, but none of her 3 sons were filial. Zhou smiled and said at the right time, it's like this, your video that went viral abroad was praised by a very famous foreign director. He has a movie in the works, and Pei Che wants to play one of the roles. Kai Miǎo Miǎo, and then? Then Pei Che can transform from an idol to a talented actor. Then what? That director likes Mrs. Pei very much. Then what? Zhou. There is no point in continuing the conversation today. Kai Miǎo Miǎo put down the teacup and asked innocently, why are you looking at me? If you like me, go get me. Isn't it your agent's job to provide resources? You don't want me to go, do you? Zhou could hardly hold back the smile on her face. It was the first time she met such a direct person, and the polite words she had prepared in advance were completely useless. Mrs. Pei is really smart. She really hopes you can help. Kai Miǎo Miǎo also felt that she was smart. This woman with fiery red lips was obviously not simple. How could she help him when she didn't even know the foreign director? How could she sacrifice herself for her son's artistic career when she didn't even know where her bed was? Something is wrong. This woman was so skilled at pimping that Kai Miǎo Miǎo looked at Pei Che fiercely. Sana. If you need any resources in the future, go find your elder and second brothers. They have money. Don't do something stupid like selling yourself out just for the sake of some resources.